Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share Infinite Novel Audio Chapter 26, Yun Yun Arrives. In the magical Beast Mountain Range, Gu Fei quietly waited for Xiao Yixian to wake up, and this wait lasted for 3 whole days. During this period, Xiao Yixian's aura also fluctuated, but fortunately, no problems arose, and it eventually stabilized. Gu Fei was not in a hurry. After all, the energy in this small mountain valley was very abundant, and while it was a drop in the bucket for him, it was better than nothing. The only bed was left for the motionless Xiao Yixian, so he had to make do with meditating and cultivating on the ground. On the 4th day, Xiao Yixian finally woke up. The moment Gu Fei sensed Xiao Yixian waking up, he opened his eyes, meeting Xiao Yixian's gaze. Xiao Yixian generated a feeling of gratitude, emotion value plus 100 Xiao. Yixian saw Gu Fei by her side and understood that Gu Fei had been protecting her all these days. A warm current immediately surged in her heart, and she revealed a smile. However, very quickly, Xiao Yixian seemed to remember something. Her eyes darted away, and she lowered her head, not daring to look at Gu Fei anymore. Xiao Yixian generated a feeling of inferiority emotion value plus 100. Brother Gu Fei, these past few days. Thank you for taking care of me. I just had a small accident while preparing medicine a few days ago. Xiao Yixian bit her lower lip, her voice a little hoarse as she spoke. Her fingers tightly clutched the hem of her skirt, her purple eyes filled with unusual emotions, afraid that Gu Fei would discover her unspeakable secret. If Brother Gu Fei really found out, would he dislike her, be afraid of her? She was practically a jinx. Gu Fei saw the girl who had been smiling moments before suddenly become cautious, and he unconsciously furrowed his brows. He naturally noticed Xiao Yixian's emotional change and shook his head helplessly. What kind of person did Xiao Yixian take him for? How could he dislike her? I already know. Your physique, calamity poison body, right? Although Gu Fei's tone was inquisitive, his expression was very calm. Xiao Yixian generated a feeling of shock, emotion value, plus 100 Xiao Yixian's eyes widened, watching Gu Fei casually point to the 7-colored poison manual she had carelessly placed nearby. Xiao Yixian's mind buzzed, not daring to look at Gu Fei's reaction. This physique would only harm everyone around her in the end, and even she detested it. However, the calamity poison body's cultivation speed was incredibly fast and could bring her power. Brother Gu Fei, will you dislike someone like me? Are you still willing to be my friend? Xiao Yixian's voice trembled slightly as she spoke softly. Gu Fei chuckled and shook his head. Silly girl, of course I won't. And of course I'm willing to be your friend. No matter what physique you have, in my heart, you are still and only that kind and gentle Xiao Yixian. You will always just be yourself. Gu Fei's voice paused, then he added, besides, with my current realm, your poison poses no threat to me at all. Did you forget my strength, or are you saying you don't believe I can be immune to your poison? Unless Xiao Yixian already possessed a Du Zong cultivation comparable to his, her poison would hardly pose a threat to Gu Fei. Xiao Yixian, of course, shook her head vigorously, explaining in a flustered hurry, afraid that Gu Fei would misunderstand. Xiao Yixian generated a feeling of gratitude, emotion value plus 100 however. Her lips curved slightly upwards, and a warm current surged in her heart once again. Although her emotional knot was untied by Gu Fei's sincere words, Xiao Yixian instinctively avoided getting close to Gu Fei because she knew her body carried poison. Xiao Yixian generated a feeling of worry, emotion value, plus 100. The descriptions of the calamity poison body in the 7-colored poison manual were shocking, and Xiao Yixian didn't know how powerful Gu Fei truly was. She only worried that her poison would harm him. The calamity poison body, a peculiar poisonous physique capable of rapidly increasing strength by devouring poisons. The method to identify the calamity poison body is a tiny, 7-colored hidden line on the lower abdomen. The 7-colored line will grow with the concentration of poison power contained within the body, and when the 7-colored line extends to the heart, it will be the strongest moment of the calamity poison body. At the same time, it will also suffer the pain of 10,000 poisons devouring the body. Below this small text, it also very detailedly listed what kind of destruction the calamity poison body would cause. Since Xiao Yixian chose to release the seal, it was a point of no return. Currently, her calamity poison body was only in its elementary stage, so when she was conscious, physical contact with Gu Fei was fine, but once she fell unconscious, or as the poison body matured over time, it would truly be, whatever she touched died. However, Xiao Yixian hid her inner worries with a smile, thinking she had disguised it well, but those emotions were faithfully reported by the system. Xiao Yixian generated a feeling of worry emotion value plus 100. Gu Fei's eyes flickered, but he didn't say much, acting as usual. Subsequently, the two continued to live in this small mountain valley for several more days. Life in the small mountain valley was truly leisurely and peaceful, and Gu Fei also quite liked this kind of life. However, he also understood that wanting to live such a comfortable life forever without striving to become stronger was, of course, impossible. At this time, on the other side of the magical beast mountain range, Xun'er was still searching for Xiao Yan, but Xiao Yan's itinerary was chaotic, and even with the help of treasures, he was untraceable. Xun'er and Xiao Yan's distance was somewhat far, and she gradually entered the depths of the magical beast mountain range to search. As Xun'er delved deeper at this moment, Ling Ying, who had been silent and shadowy, suddenly spoke. "Young miss, not far from here, there seems to be the aura of a 6th-tier demonic beast." Xun'er pondered for a moment, murmuring in her heart, "It seems I've been looking in the wrong direction." With Brother Xiao Yan's current strength, he has no way to venture into such a dangerous place. He should still be closer to the outer regions. A 6th-tier demonic beast was not a behemoth Xiao Yan could challenge at present, so he would definitely not go any further. Xun'er decided to turn back and continue searching for Xiao Yan in the peripheral areas. Her expression was a little anxious. After so long, she didn't know if Brother Xiao Yan was safe, or what the purpose of the ancient clan members was. Meanwhile, Gu Fei also sensed the energy fluctuation in the distance. He thought for a moment. Judging by the intensity of the energy fluctuation, a 6th-tier demonic beast must have been enraged. 6th-tier demonic beasts have a very strong territorial awareness. Right now, someone or some demonic beast must have invaded its territory or even offended it. Gu Fei squinted his eyes, at this time in the magical beast mountain range. Could it be the battle between the amethyst-winged lion king and Yun Yun? He vaguely sensed the source of that demonic beast aura, and Gu Fei, being a transmigration, was familiar with the original plot. Just by sensing the demonic beast aura, he guessed the true answer. Chapter 27, Want to be a hero and save the beauty. Originally, Gu Fei did not intend to get involved in this mess. Now that Xiao Yixian had woken up, he should spend a few more days with her, taking care of her, and also think about how to resolve the hidden danger of the calamity poison body. However, Gu Fei had a change of heart. As an important character in the original novel, Yun Yun's luck value must also be quite good. In fact, not to mention Yun Yun, even the amethyst-winged lion king who fought against Yun Yun would have far greater luck than ordinary demonic beasts. Therefore, Gu Fei did not hesitate much and decided to go over and see. However, he was worried that his sudden disappearance would make Xiao Yixian anxious, so he simply explained before leaving. "Xiao Yixian, I have to leave for a while. Take good care of yourself." Xiao Yixian felt reluctant. Emotion value plus 100. Xiao Yixian felt a subtle reluctance in her heart, but she could only nod and obediently agree. Above the azure sky, intense energy fluctuations continuously created sounds like muffled thunder. Gu Fei's eyes were fixed on the distant sky, and he concealed his kai as he hurried towards it. There, crimson and cyan colors almost filled half the sky. Even the lazy white clouds were dyed with two-colored light. Another thunderous roar sounded in his ears, and Gu Fei saw that the purple light from the amethyst-winged lion king enveloped this world. After a moment of brewing, the purple light suddenly tightened. In just the blink of an eye, the sky-filling purple radiance compressed into a deep purple light pillar, only about half a foot long. The deep purple light pillar in the sky flashed out like lightning. The speed of the light pillar was terrifying, almost like a flicker, and in just 2 jumps, it appeared in front of the petite figure in the sky. With Gu Fei's eyesight, he could clearly see the outline of that petite figure from a long distance away. The woman in the sky, in a plain dress, embraced her full and delicate body, holding a long sword of a somewhat strange appearance that emitted a cyan light. Her black hair was styled into a noble phoenix headdress. Her beautiful and charming face appeared calm and serene, but at this moment, as the amethyst-winged Lion King began to unleash its innate seal skill, the indifference on her face finally vanished. Clearly, this woman was Yun Yun, who fought the amethyst-winged Lion King in the original novel, Amethyst Seal. In the sky, as the purple light flashed, the low roar of the amethyst-winged Lion King also continuously echoed through the mountain range. The amethyst seal came into contact with the wind blade in front of Yun Yun for a moment, then dispersed it. Gu Fei had just approached, and this grand battle was already nearing its end. The purple light pillar, with an overwhelming force, consecutively pierced through dozens of layers of wind shields arranged in front of Yun Yun, finally shooting into her body. Immediately after, the amethyst-winged Lion King quickly flashed, and its giant palm struck towards Yun Yun's body. As her long sword trembled slightly, a thin line of light suddenly flew out, actually cutting off half of the amethyst-winged Lion King's sharp horn roar. Damn it. In pain, the amethyst-winged Lion King let out a furious roar. Its palm claws, mixed with incomparably fierce kai, heavily struck Yun Yun's chest. With a somewhat piercing metallic screech, Yun Yun, who suffered a heavy blow, spat out a small mouthful of fresh blood, and her cheeks were also somewhat pale. She used her last strength, flashing continuously, and soon disappeared from the Lion King's sight. However, at this point, she was already exhausted and actually fainted directly. Whoosh. Coincidentally, after she fainted, the direction of her fall was actually towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei was surprised for a moment, and by some strange coincidence, he reached out and caught Yun Yun, who was covered in blood. Then he held Yun Yun, concealing the kai emanating from both of them. Minions, search for her. You must find that human woman. In the sky, the amethyst-winged Lion King roared furiously when it discovered Yun Yun's kai had disappeared. He dispatched his subordinate low-level demonic beasts to begin searching the area where Yun Yun had fled. Meanwhile, Gu Fei had already taken Yun Yun to the nearest cave. In this cave, there was a stone platform made of bluestone. Yun Yun was quite seriously injured, and Gu Fei carefully laid her down, examining this woman who dared to challenge the amethyst-winged Lion King. Gu Fei carefully observed her, and a sense of astonishment naturally surged in his heart. It seemed not an exaggeration to describe her with words like pictorial brows and eyes and icy skin, and jade bones, which symbolize beauty. She possessed a delicate face with perfect bone structure and skin, her complexion delicate and white as snow, and her black hair neatly tied behind her head. Moreover, what amazed Gu Fei the most was the aura of grace and nobility she exuded. His gaze swept across her flawless face, then slowly moved downwards, but his brows furrowed slightly. Below her jade neck, on her chest, 5 terrifying claw marks, oozing fresh blood, had stained her clothes crimson. She's actually injured this seriously. The next moment, Gu Fei took out a medicinal pill from his storage ring and fed it to Yun Yun. Gu Fei's medicinal pill was a 6th-grade healing medicinal pill, and its effects were very significant. Yun Yun's seemingly dreadful injuries were quickly stabilized. Although medicinal pills were good, the body would feel pain during repair. When the medicinal effect took hold, Yun Yun's delicate brows furrowed slightly, and a hint of pain was faintly etched on her face. This appearance, though somewhat out of character for her, was quite delicate and pitiable. It seems the medicinal pills I refined myself are quite effective. Gu Fei watched Yun Yun's expression gradually relax and also breathed a sigh of relief. However, after a while, Yun Yun, who had been keeping her eyes closed, suddenly opened them. Her beautiful eyes held a hint of coldness, fixed on Gu Fei, her expression completely different from the fragility she showed when she was in pain just now. Yun felt wary, emotion value plus 100. Who are you? Looking at the unfamiliar young man standing in front of her, Yun asked with some confusion. Earlier, when Gu Fei carried her into the cave, Yun had vaguely woken up for a moment, catching a blurry glimpse of Gu Fei's face, but later she completely forgot. Facing a strange man appearing in the magical Beast Mountain range, Yun subconsciously felt a bit wary. You were injured while fighting the amethyst-winged Lion King just now. However, after I fed you a healing medicinal pill, you are fine. Although the blood on your body looks terrifying, the wounds have all stopped bleeding and are largely healed. Gu Fei spoke very calmly. Hearing these words, Yun finally lowered some of her guard. When she tried to get up, she found herself very weak and unable to use Du Qi. She quickly realized that this was caused by the amethyst seal of the amethyst-winged Lion King just now. Gu Fei watched the annoyance on Yun's face, cleared his throat, and continued. As for the seal, you don't have to worry. You'll be able to break through it yourself in a couple of days. Yun felt curious. Emotion value plus 100. Yun was now somewhat curious about Gu Fei because he seemed much younger than her. A young man of his age not only possessed strength that even she couldn't see through, but also understood skills like the amethyst seal so well. Chapter 28. Yun. Young people should not be too arrogant. Are you a Du Zong? Chapter 28. Yun. Young man, do not be too arrogant. Are you a Du Zong? Thank you for saving me just now. A sincere word of thanks came from Yun's mouth. However, Yun was still curious as to why a young man like Gu Fei would enter the dangerous depths of the magical Beast Mountain range alone for training. At this moment, Gu Fei had restrained his aura and had not revealed his strength. If Yun were to know, she would probably drop her jaw in shock. Yun sized up Gu Fei from head to toe, a trace of doubt flashing in her eyes. Yun feels doubt. Emotion value 100. Strange, what is his realm? Why can't I see it at all? Yun rubbed her forehead, her brows slightly furrowed. She guessed that it might be due to the seal, which caused her discernment ability to decline. Are you an alchemist? Yun asked, having heard that her injuries had recovered after taking a medicinal pill. Gu Fei nodded, directly admitting it. Upon hearing this, Yun immediately became interested. So young and an alchemist. He definitely has a boundless future. Little one, you saved me. In the future, I can introduce you to a great master alchemist, which will surely be of great help to you. Yun thought of Pil King Gu He, with whom she had a good relationship. Today, she had received such a great kindness from Gu Fei, and she would repay him in the future. Introducing him to Pil King Gu, he would be a way to repay this kindness. One must know that Pil King Gu, he was a 6th-rank alchemist, considered top tier in the Jia Ma Empire. No need. Gu Fei shook his head with a smile. With Yun's knowledge, the highest-rank alchemist she knew was none other than the 6th-rank alchemist known as Pil King Gu He. However, Gu Fei was already a 7th-rank alchemist. Why would he need Gu He's guidance? If Gu He knew of his alchemy abilities, he would be the one requesting guidance from Gu Fei. Seeing Gu Fei refuse, Yun did not press the matter further but changed the subject. By the way, I forgot to ask your name. Gu Fei. Upon hearing this, Yun was stunned. She had not expected the young man before her to share the same surname as Pil King Gu He, Gu's surname. Through this surname, she wondered if Gu Fei had some connection to Gu He. After all, both were alchemists. It seemed unlikely they were unrelated. What is your relationship with Pil King Gu He? Yun asked curiously. No relation at all, Gu Fei said indifferently. All right, it seems I was overthinking it. Yun smiled, a little embarrassed. I overheard from a distance that you came for the Lion King's purple spirit crystal. You must intend to refine some medicinal pill with it, right? Gu Fei asked. But the Lion King was unwilling to exchange, so I had no choice but to seize it by force. However, I was caught off guard and injured by the Lion King's innate seal technique. Yun nodded, her body still throbbing faintly, mentioning the purple spirit crystal. He, who was familiar with the original work in his previous life, naturally knew about it, so he casually said, "If I'm not mistaken, purple spirit crystal can generally be used to refine amethyst pill, which enhances the realm of a great Dou master." "Are you refining amethyst pill?" "Indeed." Yun Yun was startled. She hadn't expected Gu Fei to know so much. Yun Yun feels shock. Emotion value plus 100. She was indeed going to refine a spirit pill for her disciple, Nalan Yanran. "You are so young. What is your purpose in coming to the depths of the magical beast mountain range?" Yun Yun finally couldn't hold back her curiosity and asked. Gu Fei didn't play coy and directly stated the purpose of his trip. "Actually, I came here this time to subdue the amethyst-winged lion king as a mount. The purple spirit crystal is very important to the amethyst lion king lineage. If he is unwilling to exchange it, you should not seize it by force. Moreover, with your strength, you cannot defeat the lion king." Next, Gu Fei's words left Yun Yun somewhat stunned. She couldn't believe what her ears had heard. "This young man actually said he wants to subdue the amethyst-winged lion king as a mount. I didn't mishear him, did I?" Yun Yun was greatly shocked in her heart. That was a 6th rank Yao beast, the amethyst-winged lion king. Yun Yun feels shock. Emotion value plus 100. Yun Yun's shock was well hidden, but Gu Fei easily detected it through the system prompts. He smiled faintly. "Heh heh, just a 6th rank demonic beast. What's there to be so surprised about?" Gu Fei wasn't surprised by Yun Yun's astonishment, but responded with a faint smile. At this moment, Gu Fei habitually restrained his aura, and coupled with the fact that he hadn't revealed his cultivation aura because he found it troublesome to avoid the amethyst-winged lion king's pursuit earlier, Yun Yun felt that he was exaggerating a bit. How could this young man's tone be so arrogant? However, Gu Fei was too lazy to explain further and slowly walked towards the outside of the cave. Seeing Gu Fei walk out, Yun Yun, whose injuries had recovered somewhat due to the medicinal pill, also followed him out. At this moment, outside the cave, there was chaos, filled with the roars of demonic beasts. Just now, the amethyst-winged lion king, unable to find Yun Yun's whereabouts, had its beast horn half-severed and was still in pain. His terrifying roar echoed throughout half of the magical beast mountain range. Many low-rank demonic beasts trembled in fear at his roar, wishing they could hide back in their nests, but they were forced out by the Lion King and had no choice but to search the surroundings for Yun Yun's whereabouts. In the original work, after Xiao Yan rescued Yun Yun, he was unable to shield Yun Yun's aura in the cave due to his lack of strength. In the end, he could only scatter some odor-masking medicinal powder outside the cave. And because those low-rank demonic beasts did not search diligently, they managed to muddle through and cover it up. However, Gu Fei didn't need to do any of that. His strength allowed him to directly shield Yun Yun's aura from leaking out. But now that he was out, he did not help Yun Yun conceal her aura. Therefore, shortly after Yun Yun came out of the cave this time, her aura attracted a large number of demonic beasts. Yun Yun then reacted, her expression slightly changing. "Oh no, these demonic beasts are the Lion King's subordinates. They've smelled my aura. It seems I'm going to implicate you. I'm truly sorry." Yun Yun feels guilt. Emotion value plus 100 in her opinion. Gu Fei was very weak. Although she was a Dou Qi battle master, she hadn't fully recovered and might not be able to protect Gu Fei well. Clearly, at this moment, Yun Yun still thought Gu Fei was boasting just now. However, in the next moment, Yun Yun watched as Gu Fei directly soared into the air. There was nothing behind him. Unlike Yun Yun, who had to rely on Dou Qi wings to fly, Gu Fei stood in the sky like this, his expression calm, without needing any leverage whatsoever. Yun Yun was stunned. Yun Yun feels shock. Emotion value plus 100. This is a Du Zong. Such an incredible term popped into her head, and a rare look of surprise appeared on Yun Yun's usually calm face. Could a young man who looked only 16 or 17 years old actually possess such strength? Even if Yun Yun was considered exceptionally talented in this Jia Ma Empire. She was an existence many looked up to, but Gu Fei's extremely powerful talent far exceeded her imagination. Chapter 29, Xun'er, why is Gu Fei here? Is he here for Brother Zio Yan? Chapter 29. Xun'er, why is Gu Fei here? Could he be here for Brother Zio Yan? Lion King, are you willing to follow me? Gu Fei stood suspended in the sky, his eyelids lowered, his voice carried by the wind, and the Dou Qi he exerted made his voice travel very far. His words, imbued with terrifying pressure, echoed throughout this dangerous area teeming with demonic beasts. Those low-rank demonic beasts that had originally bared their fangs and claws to surround him, upon sensing the powerful aura emanating from Gu Fei, retreated one after another, trembling all over and daring not to advance, even though Gu Fei had not deliberately targeted them. Every demonic beast nearby, their originally ferocious pupils were now filled with fear. Second-rank demonic beast Black Eagle generated fear, emotion value plus 0.01. Third-rank demonic beast Ice Wolf generated fear, emotion value plus 0.05. Fourth-rank demonic beast Black Bear generated fear, emotion value plus 0.1. This aura. Not far away, the amethyst-winged Lion King also heard Gu Fei's words, although it had sensed Gu Fei's formidable strength from his overwhelming aura. However, this was its territory. To expect it to retreat without a fight was impossible. Soon, the amethyst-winged Lion King's massive body appeared in the sky. It lowered its head, glanced at Yun standing beneath Gu Fei, a fierce glint flashing in its eyes, then it turned its gaze back to Gu Fei and spoke in human tongue. "Human Strong One, are you also here to seize my purple spirit crystal?" As the Lion King spoke, a hint of unease flickered in his heart. If Gu Fei was here to stand up for Yun, then a bloody battle was inevitable today. Amethyst-winged Lion King generated unease, emotion value plus 50, not at all. The purple spirit crystal is useless to me. Noticing some changes in the Lion King's emotions, Gu Fei smiled lightly and shook his head. Upon hearing this, the Lion King breathed a sigh of relief, but then was choked by Gu Fei's next sentence. "I came here because I believe your talent is decent, and you have the qualifications to become my mount." Gu Fei's expression was calm, yet he uttered words that caused the Lion King's expression to change drastically. Amethyst-winged Lion King generated shock and anger, emotion value plus 60. What? You actually want this king to be your mount? How arrogant, human. The Lion King was furious at this moment. As demonic beasts, especially high-rank demonic beasts, they were very difficult to tame by humans. They were born proud and would never bow their heads to humans. Even if human strength was superior to theirs, they would not submit, even if it meant death. For this reason, live adult demonic beasts sold in the market were extremely rare. Typically, demonic beasts were killed, dismembered, and their useful parts extracted and sold. Those who wished to purchase a complete demonic beast could only buy demonic beast eggs or naive demonic beast cubs. For example, the guardian demonic beasts of large families had to be nurtured from a young age so that they would not harbor rebellious thoughts and would remain loyal to the family. Don't be surprised. Once you become my mount, you will understand that this is the wisest decision you will ever make in your life. Gu Fei ignored the amethyst-winged Lion King's towering rage and smiled faintly. Then he closed his eyes and completely released his aura. As soon as that powerful pressure was unleashed, not only did the surrounding low-rank demonic beasts kneel on the ground, trembling, but even the Lion King felt an unprecedented pressure, and cold sweat streamed down his body. On Yun's side, under Gu Fei's care, she didn't feel uncomfortable, but she could also sense the terrifying power of Gu Fei. Yun generated shock, emotion value plus 100. Amethyst-winged Lion King generated shock and fear, emotion value plus 60. Third-rank demonic beast Earth-splitting Bear generated fear, emotion value plus 0.01. Although Yun did not feel the pressure, her expression was also solemn. This was a natural reaction of the weak when facing the strong. Even the powerful amethyst-winged Lion King couldn't help but take a step back. Yun's gaze involuntarily fell on Gu Fei's back. Who exactly is he? Gu Fei's aura continuously spread outwards, and an endless surge of Dou Qi burst forth. At the same time, in the magical Beast Mountain range, Ling Ying, who was some distance away, also sensed this terrifying Kai fluctuation, and his footsteps suddenly stopped, a look of surprise and doubt on his face. This aura, what's wrong? Ling Ying had guarded her since she was a child, and she rarely saw such a shocked expression from him. After all, as her shadow, Ling Ying had to maintain sufficient composure to fulfill his role. Ling Ying, uncharacteristically, showed an emotional fluctuation at this moment, and Xun'er asked in confusion. A faint unease welled up in her heart, but she deliberately ignored it. Ling Ying was very sensitive to this aura. Although Xun'er also sensed a powerful fluctuation, her strength, which was a notch below Ling Ying's, prevented her from perceiving it clearly. She could only vaguely sense that it was an extremely powerful aura. "Young miss, I will sense it more carefully." Ling Ying was incredulous and sensed it again. Yet he found it was still not far from his initial guess. He paused for a second, his gaze turning to Xun'er, his expression somewhat grave. "It's young Master Gu Fei's aura." Ling Ying's voice paused, then he answered with great certainty. His perception could not be wrong. Such a powerful and familiar aura could only belong to young Master Gu Fei. Gu Fei, hearing this, Xun'er was also stunned. She was very confused as to why Gu Fei would come here, to such a barren place as the Northwest Continent. What was there here worth him training for? The Northwest Continent was completely incomparable to the ancient world. Gu Fei had left the ancient world for training, but it was impossible for him to abandon many rich lands to come to such a barren place. She wondered, in the ancient world, who knew Qingshan Town, and who knew the magical beast mountain range, could it really be such a coincidence, just an accidental encounter, or was it? Could it be that Gu Fei came for brother Xiao Yan? An incredible guess formed in Xun'er's heart. She was very worried about Xiao Yan's safety. Because she hadn't been able to find brother Xiao Yan for some time, Xun'er was very anxious. After all, Xun'er was the person who knew Gu Fei's strength best. He was the Gu family's #1 prodigy. If Gu Fei really made a move against brother Xiao Yan, even the mysterious strong one beside brother Xiao Yan might not be able to resist. Xun'er bit her lower lip nervously and exchanged glances with Ling Ying. She was conflicted about whether to go over and check the situation. What if? That fluctuation was Gu Fei fighting with brother Xiao Yan and that mysterious strong one. What should she do? Time is pressing. Every second of delay, brother Xiao Yan might be in one more danger. Xun'er no longer hesitated. Let's go find Gu Fei. Seeing this, Ling Ying simply took her and rushed quickly to the source of the Dou Qi fluctuation. At this moment, Xun'er was extremely eager to find Gu Fei. However, her hurried desire to find her ex-husband was not out of longing. Rather, it was out of concern that her ex-husband might harm her old lover. Chapter 30, Conquering the Lion King. Ex-husband and ex-wife meet in a different place, deep within the magical beast mountain range. After Gu Fei unreservedly displayed his aura, the originally chaotic and arrogant low-level demonic beasts instantly fell silent. Even the amethyst-winged Lion King's body paused for a moment. With a slight lift of his toes, Gu Fei took a few light steps forward. Despite his relaxed, strolling posture, a sudden whoosh of air indicated he had instantly appeared before the amethyst-winged Lion King. This terrifying speed was so extreme that even the amethyst-winged Lion King didn't react in time. Gu Fei stood before him, as tiny as an ant, yet the amethyst-winged Lion King felt an extremely dangerous sensation. It was the long-forgotten aura of death. A terrifying threat he hadn't felt since he began dominating this mountain range. The amethyst-winged Lion King felt fear, emotion value +50. The feeling of his heart accelerating made the Lion King's scalp tingle. He roared, instinctively extending a giant claw to swat at Gu Fei. The amethyst-winged Lion King held nothing back, putting all his power into that palm strike, because his intuition told him that if he didn't use his full strength, if he dared to underestimate Gu Fei in the slightest, he would surely die. Yun's face changed color, startled by the Lion King's sudden palm strike. Although she sensed Gu Fei's power compared to the Lion King's massive body, Gu Fei seemed far too weak. Yun felt nervous and worried, emotion value +100. He won't be in trouble if he gets hit by a palm like that, will he? However, the next moment, that massive claw, heavy as 10,000 tons, suddenly stopped midair as if a speeding car had slammed on its brakes, unable to press down another inch. At the same time, a violent metallic clang echoed in the sky. The piercing sound and the enormous energy bursting from its center caused the low-level demonic beasts nearby to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. Yun stared intently, unblinking. She squinted, only then realizing that Gu Fei had extended one hand. That hand, compared to the giant claw, was like an ant beside an elephant's foot, yet it had intercepted the descending giant claw. Yun felt shocked, emotion value plus 100. How is this possible? Yun exclaimed. Her seal had almost completely lifted, and she could already sense the energy fluctuations from the outside world. The reason for her shock was that Yun could sense that Gu Fei, the protagonist of that battle, hadn't used any Kai energy at all. He had merely extended one hand, using only his physical body's strength, to block a full-power, heavy strike from a 6th-rank demonic beast. Moreover, this wasn't just any ordinary 6th-rank demonic beast. The moment his attack was effortlessly caught by Gu Fei, the amethyst-winged Lion King felt a sharp pain from his claw. The amethyst-winged Lion King felt fear, emotion value plus 50. He instinctively retracted his claw quickly, a hint of fear rising in his heart. The amethyst-winged Lion King was more powerful than Yun, and as an intelligent demonic beast, his knowledge was also considerable. He could naturally perceive that Gu Fei had withstood that punch purely with his physical body's strength. Furthermore, Gu Fei's expression was calm, even appearing to be at ease. What demonic beasts were strongest at had never been Kai, but their formidable physical bodies. Conversely, the weakness of most humans lay in their physical bodies. Yet now, the positions of humans and demonic beasts were completely reversed. Gu Fei could effortlessly block his full-power strike without using Kai. The amethyst-winged Lion King's fur bristled, his pupils contracting. Just how terrifying was Gu Fei's physique? Gu Fei shook his hand, feeling no challenge whatsoever. He still remembered that the system panel showed his physique at level 78, equivalent to the body strength of a late-stage, 7th-rank demonic beast with imperial bloodline. When demonic beasts cultivate to the late stage, each rank's breakthrough is a qualitative improvement. Between the 6th and 7th ranks, there was already a chasm. Not to mention, there was also the enhancement of imperial bloodline strength. If Gu Fei were serious, he could easily beat the amethyst-winged Lion King with his physical body's strength. It was not easy to encounter a demonic beast that somewhat pleased him, so Gu Fei decided to persuade him one more time. His patience was also running out. Believe me, becoming my mount will be the wisest decision you make in your life. In the future, breaking through to the 7th rank, or even the 8th rank, is possible, at least better than you constantly staying in this magical beast mountain range. The amethyst-winged Lion King felt hesitant, emotion value plus 50. After using his power to intimidate the amethyst-winged Lion King, Gu Fei, well-versed in the principle of a carrot and a stick, offered some conditions. Furthermore, Gu Fei smiled faintly, and seeing the amethyst-winged Lion King still hesitating, he spoke again. Later, I will give you a transformation pill. The absolutely effective combination of grace and might, coupled with the various potentials Gu Fei displayed, finally swayed the Lion King. The amethyst-winged Lion King felt hesitant, emotion value plus 50. Following such a future peerless powerhouse, even if only as a mount, didn't seem shameful. Moreover, Gu Fei had given him enough face. His words had reached this point. If the amethyst-winged Lion King still didn't agree, he might face a fatal disaster today, and his child in the immortal cave would also be in danger. Greetings, Master. Therefore, after weighing his options, the proud amethyst-winged Lion King finally chose to lower his head and submit to Gu Fei. Very good. Seeing this, Gu Fei smiled and nodded. Below, Yun witnessed this scene with her own eyes. Yun felt surprised, emotion value plus 100. She was so surprised she was speechless. Gu Fei's power repeatedly updated her understanding, even far exceeding her imagination. Yun couldn't help but wonder, could such a prodigy truly exist above? Gu Fei was still giving instructions to the amethyst-winged Lion King. Since that's the case, prepare yourself. Afterwards, you will leave the magical beast mountain range with me. As for your child, you can handle it yourself. Then he descended to the ground and came to Yun's side. Yun felt embarrassed, emotion value plus 100. Yun rarely felt awkward. She had actually thought this powerhouse was boasting just now. At this moment, Yun's attitude towards Gu Fei had quietly changed. She no longer treated him like a naive young man, as she had just before. This was a natural reaction of the weak to the strong. At the same time, Yun thought of how she had even told Gu Fei that she would recommend Gu He to him and found it laughable. Gu Fei smiled slightly, about to tease this rarely emotional ice beauty. Suddenly, he frowned slightly, looking eastward. Why is she here? Yun looked in the direction of his gaze, puzzled, and remained silent. Gu Fei frowned, feeling a little irritated. What did these two want by coming to disturb him? Although Xun'er and Ling Ying did not deliberately display their auras, with Gu Fei's powerful soul power, he still detected that they were approaching this way. Chapter 31, Xun'er's jealousy. Yun did not understand why Gu Fei frowned. At this moment, she was very quiet and did not speak to disturb Gu Fei. Gu Fei also rubbed his temples, looking a bit impatient. He did not want to leave first, as if he was feeling guilty. Instead, he waited quietly in place for the two of them to arrive. A moment later, two black dots appeared in the distant sky, flying rapidly. As they drew closer, the two black dots gradually became clear, revealing Xun'er and Ling Ying. It really is him. Xun'er felt surprised, emotion value plus 100. Xun'er's gaze had been anxiously searching, and now she finally saw Gu Fei. Although she had been mentally prepared, seeing him in person still brought some surprise. Moreover, the next moment, she also saw a beautiful woman standing beside Gu Fei. Although the woman wore a simple robe, it could not conceal her proud figure. She was tall, with cold, beautiful eyes and a lovely face. Her black hair flowed down, and she exuded an air of elegant nobility. At a glance, she even seemed quite well matched with Gu Fei. Who is this woman? Xun'er felt jealous, emotion value plus 100. For some reason, Xun'er felt an inexplicable surge of jealousy in her heart. She shook her head, thinking she must be obsessed with brother Xiao Yan. What Gu Fei did, what did it have to do with her? Soon, Xun'er and Ling Ying landed in front of Gu Fei. As soon as Xun'er arrived, she questioned Gu Fei. Gu Fei, why are you here? Her tone seemed a bit urgent. If Gu Fei didn't know that her heart was solely focused on her brother Xiao Yan, he might actually believe that his ex-wife was worried about his safety. That's what I should be asking you. Gu Fei's expression was impatient, and he replied in a very cold tone, I'm out for training. What about you? Why are you following me? What exactly was she up to follow him all the way to the magical beast mountain range? Listening to his tone, Xun'er bit her lower lip and shook her head, denying, I'm not following you. Gu Fei, of course, did not believe it. If it wasn't following, how could it be such a coincidence that both of them were training in the magical beast mountain range? Seeing Gu Fei's somewhat sarcastic curl of his lips and his mocking gaze, Xun'er became a bit exasperated. Xun'er felt angry, emotion value plus 100. The Northwest continent is known as a barren land. Is there really any need for a prodigy like you to train here? Anywhere else would be better for training than here. As Xun'er spoke, her guess in her heart grew stronger. Her beautiful eyes flickered and she questioned again, do you have another purpose? Xun'er felt suspicious, emotion value plus 100. Other purpose. Hearing Xun'er's repeated questioning tone, without any politeness, even the most good-tempered person would get angry. Gu Fei's good mood from having just subdued the amethyst-winged Lion King was instantly and completely ruined by Xun'er. He said angrily, do my affairs have anything to do with you? Xun'er was the one who betrayed him first, yet she was still chasing him and questioning him. What exactly was she going crazy about? There should be a limit to being willful and ignorant. Gu Fei closed his eyes, then simply turned his head away, no longer bothering with Xun'er. Xun'er felt uneasy, emotion value plus 200. Seeing that Gu Fei did not reply, Xun'er felt a little uneasy in her heart. Could it be that brother Xiao Yan had already fallen victim to his evil hands? But he shouldn't be that kind of person. Xun'er didn't know what she was overthinking, but her words suddenly took on a pleading tone. Gu Fei, I don't care what you're really thinking, and I'm not doubting you, I'm just begging you. I know, because of me, you might resent brother Xiao Yan a little. Xun'er's voice paused, a little choked up. I'm begging you, please don't hurt brother Xiao Yan, don't deal with him, okay? Xun'er felt pleading, emotion value plus 200. Yun felt surprised, emotion value plus 100. Beside them, Yun had not said a word to disturb the two of them, but listening to their conversation, her heart was greatly shaken. Xiao Yan. Yun still remembered the name Xiao Yan. This person had an engagement with her only disciple, Nalan Yanren. And Yanren had broken off the engagement with him. The two had made a 3-year agreement, and this time, Yun came to the magical Beast Mountain range because she had learned that Xiao Yan's talent had recovered, and his strength was progressing rapidly. Fearing Yanren's defeat, she came here to retrieve Purple Spirit Crystal for alchemy. However, Xiao Yan was clearly a young man of ordinary birth and not high cultivation. How could he be related to proud prodigies like Gu Fei and Xun'er? Moreover, looking at the situation, it seemed very complicated. Both Xun'er's and Gu Fei's attitudes were off, and it was likely that both had a great deal to do with Xiao Yan. Yun herself had no prejudice against Xiao Yan. She would not judge anyone with biased eyes. But today's chaotic situation made her uncharacteristically upset. Yun frowned, and subconsciously, a hint of dislike for Xiao Yan grew in her heart. Hurt Xiao Yan. Gu Fei frowned again, unable to believe what he had just heard, and anger flared in his heart. He hadn't expected that Xun'er, this woman, would think of him in that way. Hurt Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan wasn't even worthy. Xun'er was too arrogant. He clearly didn't care, yet Xun'er kept thinking that he harbored grudges against her and Xiao Yan. It had even reached the point where he would travel thousands of miles to the magical Beast Mountain range in the northwest continent under the guise of training, just to kill Xiao Yan quickly. Gu Fei was so angry he laughed, his expression full of disdain. He's not worthy of me even thinking about him like that. Looking at Xun'er, Gu Fei's eyes showed even more disgust. Nor are you. Xun'er felt lost, emotion value plus 100. After saying this, Gu Fei felt annoyed, so he turned around and softly said to the somewhat dazed Yun, "Your injury isn't fully healed yet, you should rest more." Yun nodded. Without fully understanding their complex relationship, she entered the cave with Gu Fei. Only Xun'er and Ling Ying were left outside. Xun'er momentarily pushed brother Xiao Yan to the back of her mind, looking at the backs of Gu Fei and Yun walking side by side, and murmured, "Who is this woman, and what is brother Gu Fei's relationship with her?" Xun'er was extremely angry, yet at the same time she felt a little lost. After all, Gu Fei was her ex-husband, and they had only recently divorced. How could Gu Fei be so close to another woman? Moreover, Yun's posture and appearance were both excellent, and her noble temperament made Xun'er feel a trace of unease in her heart. The words Gu Fei blurted out just now, she thought she hadn't taken them to heart, but the system's faithful prompt still revealed her true feelings. Facing Gu Fei's disgust, Xun'er felt somewhat hurt. How had all the past good turned into sharp swords piercing her? She was a bit distraught, and she looked deeply at the cave. The cave entrance's aura was blocked by Gu Fei, so Xun'er couldn't see inside, and she couldn't help but feel suspicious. What would happen between Gu Fei and that woman inside Chapter 32? Yun's subtle reaction. Xun'er was sulking because Gu Fei refused to answer her questions directly and had left her to enter the immortal cave with that woman. Ling Ying, who had been like a transparent person and hadn't spoken a word, witnessed this farce and hesitated. "Young miss, since young Master Gu Fei said so, then there's no way he would go after Xiao Yan. Young Master Gu Fei holds great prestige among the younger generation in the clan, although I don't know much about him. I do know some things. He doesn't just command respect through his absolute strength, but also through his personal charisma. At least from what I can see, there's no hidden meaning or lie in his words. Looking at the sulking Xun'er, Ling Ying couldn't help but speak. His tone conveyed great trust in Gu Fei. Gu Fei was a man who kept his promises. His word was his bond. If he said he hadn't dealt with Xiao Yan, then he truly hadn't. On one hand, Gu Fei was a genius whom Ling Ying looked up to, and his status was extremely noble. Ling Ying's respect for Gu Fei came from the bottom of his heart. When he first learned that Gu Fei sought to marry Xun'er, Ling Ying remained silent. After all, Xun'er was someone he had watched grow up since childhood, so naturally, he viewed her with a certain filter, believing no man in the world was worthy of young Miss Xun'er. But after observing for some time, Ling Ying wholeheartedly accepted him as Xun'er's husband. Earlier, when Xun'er asked Ling Ying to contact Xiao Yan, Ling Ying was initially reluctant. It was obvious that Xiao Yan was inferior to Gu Fei in every aspect. Between Xiao Yan and Gu Fei, Ling Ying clearly favored Xun'er marrying Gu Fei. The union of two exceptionally talented individuals would surely be more perfect. Although Xiao Yan had a good temperament and was steady, his talent was far inferior to Gu Fei's. However, Ling Ying couldn't resist Xun'er's stubbornness. Coupled with his years of rapport with Xun'er, he had no choice but to side with her, thus helping her deliver the message. Master Ling, of course I understand the reasoning. Since Gu Fei said he wouldn't make a move against brother Xiao Yan, then it's set in stone, absolutely impossible. I was just angry for a moment, too impulsive, which made me speak carelessly and question him. Xun'er lowered her head and said softly. Although she usually held her ground, she was now feeling a little remorseful. Last time, Xun'er was furious when Gu Yao sent people to deal with Xiao Yan, and she mistakenly blamed Gu Fei without understanding the full situation. She thought she wouldn't repeat the same mistake, but she did again this time. Seeing Gu Fei and Yun Yun walk together, side by side, into the immortal cave, a pleasant sight, Xun'er felt even more distressed. She bit her lower lip and suddenly said, "No, I have to go in and see. What if that woman has ill intentions? I hope nothing unexpected happens to them inside." Ling Ying sighed helplessly and could only agree. However, he did not intend to go inside, choosing instead to guard outside. Xun'er hesitated for a moment, then decided to enter the immortal cave. Just as she was about to enter, her expression changed, and a whooshing sound echoed in the sky. "Human, without the master's permission, you are not allowed to trespass into the immortal cave. Stand back." The amethyst-winged Lion King circled overhead, its massive figure casting a shadow over the sky. It lowered its head and issued a stern warning to Xun'er and Ling Ying. The broken horn on its head was still throbbing, but Gu Fei had already stopped the bleeding. Throughout the day, the amethyst-winged Lion King's mood had been tense, never relaxing. It had encountered far too many powerful individuals today. Not only did it encounter the Du Huang Yun Yun, who came to demand the purple spirit crystal and severed half its beast horn, but also Du Zong powerhouses like Gu Fei. Moreover, among the people who subsequently came to find Gu Fei, there was even a Du Huang at the peak level. Ling Ying appeared to have no presence. He existed as a shadow, accustomed to concealing himself. But the amethyst-winged Lion King was quite wary of Ling Ying as well. It stared at Ling Ying, assessing his strength in its mind. As it issued its warning, its gaze remained vigilantly fixed on Ling Ying. However, the amethyst-winged Lion King understood that even if it wasn't an opponent, it still had to step forward and obstruct them, to demonstrate its loyalty to Gu Fei. Besides, these two clearly knew its master, so they shouldn't attack it. Xun'er looked up at the amethyst-winged Lion King, completely unafraid of its low warning. Her voice was sharp as she reprimanded, "Get out of the way." The amethyst-winged Lion King's body stiffened, and anger surged in its heart. It didn't want to offend Ling Ying, but that didn't mean this arrogant little girl could act so recklessly. The amethyst-winged Lion King's voice fell silent for a moment, then a subtle ripple spread through the air. Ling Ying keenly sensed the gathering of Dou Qi, and his brows furrowed slightly. He took a few steps forward, standing in front of Xun'er, blocking the amethyst-winged Lion King's ominous gaze. Ling Ying turned around and tried to persuade Xun'er. "Young Master Gu Fei might be angry right now. It's best if we don't go in for the time being. It's not too late to explain once young Master Gu Fei has calmed down. Going in now would be walking right into his anger, and it might not help him cool down. Under Ling Ying's persuasion, Xun'er hesitated for a moment and finally calmed down. She cast a cold glance at the immortal cave entrance and then waited outside the cave. The subtly gathering Dou Qi then dispersed, and Ling Ying finally let out a sigh of relief. If he couldn't persuade Xun'er, he might have had to fight a bitter battle with the amethyst-winged Lion King. Even if neither of them would fight for real, they would still inevitably suffer some injuries. On the other side, Yun and Gu Fei walked side by side into the immortal cave. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share infinite novel audio. Yun sensed Xun'er's burning gaze from behind, but remained silent. The two continued a few steps further inside, when Yun finally couldn't help but ask, "The Xiao Yan you just mentioned, is he Xiao Yan from the Xiao family in Wutan City?" Yun's intuition told her that these two Xiao Yan were the same person. However, Yun was puzzled. How could a mere trash from Wutan City know these young men and women of the highest strength? Gu Fei nodded nonchalantly, giving a very bland without any further words. He could sense that Xun'er and Ling Ying were still outside the immortal cave and hadn't left. This made Gu Fei feel a little displeased. It wasn't because he was jealous that Xun'er only had Xiao Yan in her heart. It was simply because Gu Fei was a normal person, and being wrongly accused and subjected to inexplicable speculation for no reason would naturally make him unhappy. At this moment, Gu Fei let out a long, turbid breath. Fortunately, he had already separated from Xun'er, and her influence on him was no longer significant. If it had been before, he would probably have been distracted for the entire day, constantly doubting himself. Gu Fei shook off the distracting thoughts in his mind. At this moment, he suddenly missed the simple girl with purple hair and purple eyes who was waiting for him to return in the small mountain valley. At least, when she was by his side, Gu Fei never experienced any overly negative emotions. Chapter 33 Xun'er, what did you, a man and a woman, do in there? I won't be staying in the magical beast mountain range for long. Gu Fei paused, then continued, since I saved you this time, it seems we are fated. Next, I will help you break through the seal in your body. Considering that Xiao Yixian was still waiting for him alone in that small mountain valley, Gu Fei didn't want to stay here any longer. Yun feels gratitude, emotional value plus 100. Thank you. Hearing this, Yun's eyes showed a hint of gratitude. She wisely didn't ask why Gu Fei was in a hurry to leave. Just as Gu Fei was about to help Yun, his movements paused again, and he stated directly, "To help you break through the seal, my palm needs to touch your body to input Dou Qi into your body." I am not one to fuss over minor details. Yun smiled, seemingly unconcerned, and softly assented. Next, Gu Fei's palm gently rested on Yun's slender back. His large palm was hot, and its scorching warmth, wrapped in Dou Qi, continuously entered Yun's body. Yun's stagnant meridians were gently impacted by the Dou Qi, and they suddenly broke open. Ugh, that feeling was both sore and warm all over. Yun unconsciously let out a soft moan. Upon realizing what she had done, her ear tips instantly flushed crimson. Although Yun was not young and held the esteemed position of a sect master, her experience with men and women was almost zero. She had never had such close contact with a man. Yun feels shy, emotional value plus 100. She struggled and twisted slightly, but Gu Fei held her shoulder with one hand. "Don't move around," he whispered in Yun's ear, his expression quite focused. Yun stiffened all over, her cheeks instantly turned red, and even her fingertips became a shy pink. Yun feels shy, emotional value plus 100. The seal was almost broken, and Gu Fei released his hands. "Thank you," she whispered, her gaze unfocused, still appearing somewhat shy. Gu Fei received the emotional value notification and looked at her thoughtfully. "Your purpose in coming here is to obtain purple spirit crystal to refine the amethyst pill. The amethyst pill's effect is to enhance the cultivation of those in the Dou Master and Great Dou Master realm. This medicinal pill has an even better effect than the amethyst pill." Gu Fei took out a medicinal pill from his storage ring and gave it to Yun Yun. This was something he had personally refined, and its effect was immeasurably better than the amethyst pill. Yun Yun feels gratitude, emotional value plus 100. This. I am truly grateful, you have helped me so much. Yun Yun didn't decline. She took the medicinal pill, secretly glanced at Gu Fei and thanked him again. Then let's go. After giving the medicinal pill, Gu Fei stood up and led the way out of the cave. Yun Yun stood still, staring at his back for a moment in a daze, then caught up. She realized what she had just been doing, and her emotions were a bit subtle. Yun Yun feels reluctance, emotional value plus 100. Greetings, master. Outside the cave, the amethyst-winged Lion King respectfully greeted Gu Fei when he saw him emerge. Gu Fei responded indifferently, his gaze not sparing Xun'er a single glance. Meanwhile, Xun'er, seeing Gu Fei come out of the cave, quickly stood up, intending to explain the previous misunderstanding to him. Suddenly, her expression froze. She saw Yun Yun behind Gu Fei, her face rosy, her brows and eyes exuding a warm glow, and her hair slightly messier than before she went in. Upon closer observation, Yun Yun stood very close to Gu Fei, and there was a peculiar atmosphere between them that outsiders couldn't penetrate. Xun'er couldn't help but have some strange thoughts. Could it be that the two of them, just now in the cave, had? Xun'er feels sadness, emotional value plus 100. Thinking of this, Xun'er, for some reason, felt a strange sadness. Thus, the carefully prepared words of explanation she had rehearsed for a long time were all suddenly forgotten. Xun'er stepped forward, staring into Gu Fei's eyes and loudly questioned, "What exactly did you two do? A man and a woman alone in there for a whole hour?" Xun'er feels anger, emotional value plus 100. Hearing Xun'er's words, Gu Fei didn't react immediately, but Yun Yun knew she had misunderstood. At the same time, this righteous tone of questioning also made her realize that Gu Fei and the beautiful, noble girl in front of her had an unusual relationship. She ignored a hint of emotion in her heart and wanted to explain, "This young lady, it's not what you think." However, Yun Yun's words were cut short by Gu Fei. Gu Fei's expression seemed a bit impatient, and he said coldly, "What I did, what does it have to do with you?" Xun'er feels jealousy and anger, emotional value plus 100. Hearing Gu Fei's reply, Xun'er couldn't help but feel a bit jealous. The next moment, the words she spoke were even more thoughtless, blurting out, "Gu Fei, I didn't expect you to become like this. Take a good look. This woman is so much older than you, and you still find her attractive." Yun Yun's appearance was mature with elegance, her temperament noble, and her figure tall. Compared to young teenagers like Xun'er and Gu Fei, she indeed looked like an older sister. Yun Yun feels displeasure, emotional value plus 100. But these thoughtless words, upon reaching Yun Yun's ears, also made her very displeased. She had originally intended to explain, but was completely angered by Xun'er's unfiltered words. Xun'er's words at this moment sounded very harsh. Yun Yun should have ignored her attack, but an unusual emotion arose within her. In the Jia Ma Empire, she held a lofty position. When had she ever been looked down upon like this? Not to mention by a naive young girl. Since Xun'er suspected something had happened between her and Gu Fei, and even called her old, what could be more humiliating for Xun'er than to strike back herself? Yun Yun feels competitiveness, emotional value plus 100. With her competitive spirit aroused, Yun Yun actually reached out and linked her arm with Gu Fei's. At this instant, Gu Fei's expression was uncharacteristically stiff, like a block of wood. He couldn't pull his arm out, nor could he leave it, so he could only let Yun Yun lean tightly against him. Yun Yun smiled charmingly. "Little girl, although big sister is a bit older, I know much more than little girls like you. It's only natural that Gu Fei doesn't like you." Yun Yun looked provocatively at Xun'er, her voice like a hook, slowly and deliberately saying words to provoke Xun'er. She even affectedly blinked her eyes and leaned her body closer to Gu Fei. Feeling the stiffness in Gu Fei's arm, the curve of Yun Yun's lips rose even further. Normally, Yun Yun was aloof and noble, never actively approaching any man. She was always high above, her mind never straying from cultivation. If the people of the Jia Ma Empire knew of her current behavior, they would probably all drop their jaws in shock. Where was the noble, aloof, and beautiful sect master now? She was clearly a vixen. Today, an extra chapter will be updated promptly after midnight. Chapter 34, no matter what I do, it's much better than you cheating on your wife. Yun Yun's sudden, uncharacteristic attitude made Gu Fei freeze for a moment. Especially since Yun Yun was now holding his arm and leaning tightly against him. His arm seemed to occasionally brush against a soft area of her body. This caused a slight crack in Gu Fei's, usually indifferent expression. Moreover, this ambiguous physical contact was very subtle, making Gu Fei's heart rate quicken. His mind went blank for a moment, feeling the disordered chaos of his heartbeat. However, Gu Fei quickly understood. Yun Yun was acting this way because Xun'er's words earlier had made her angry, and her current actions were meant to deliberately anger Xun'er. You too, how could you? Xun'er's eyes widened at the sight of Gu Fei and Yun Yun's intimate actions. The system prompted. Xun'er is experiencing jealousy, emotional value plus 100. She stamped her foot, becoming even more jealous and displaying intense anger. Gu Fei, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. How long has it been since we divorced and you already have a new love? Who do you take me for? The system prompted. Xun'er is experiencing anger, emotional value plus 100 jealousy, anger. The system prompt faithfully informed Gu Fei of Xun'er's emotional changes. Listening to her inexplicable, sudden jealousy, followed by anger and envy, Gu Fei felt even more disgusted. Xun'er always put on an act. Right now, it was just her possessiveness at play. She didn't necessarily care much about him. She just didn't want to see the man who once deeply loved her quickly appear with another woman by his side. Moreover, that woman was even comparable to her in beauty. Gu Fei knew that although Xun'er now appeared very angry, looking all puffed up as if she genuinely cared about him. However, once her brother Xiao Yan appeared, Xun'er would completely forget everything she had just said. She would immediately throw herself into Xiao Yan's embrace and wouldn't think about any of this. Xiao Yan would always be first in Xun'er's heart. Gu Fei no longer cared to compete. Whatever I do is much better than your infidelity during our marriage. Gu Fei looked at Xun'er with a hint of disdain and said in a deep voice. His words still carried disgust and contempt, completely unchanged by Xun'er's emotions. Gu Fei was fed up with Xun'er's incessant disturbances and tantrums. Without the filter of his past love, he realized Xun'er was just a spoiled girl. Even if he really had something with Yun Yun, they were already divorced now. What did free love have to do with Xun'er? Why pretend to catch him in the act, questioning him in a wife's tone, feigning deep affection? I'm sorry, it wasn't intentional. Hearing the exchange between Xun'er and Gu Fei, Yun Yun finally understood their relationship and apologized to Gu Fei. At this moment, she realized that the relationship between Gu Fei and Xun'er was probably even more complicated. However, she had just used Gu Fei to vent her anger thoroughly. Earlier, seeing Xun'er's jealous and angry expression, Yun Yun felt inexplicably happy and couldn't help but curl her lips in a victorious smile. By now, her anger had subsided, so she released Gu Fei's arm. At this point, she realized that her actions just now had been too daring. It seemed that Gu Fei's arm had touched her body's sensitive areas. The system prompted. Yun Yun is experiencing shyness, emotional value plus 100. Thinking of this, Yun Yun's complexion became even redder than when she emerged from the cave, and even her neck showed a faint blush. She herself wasn't sure about her actions just now. In fact, it wasn't simply to anger Xun'er. Instead, a large part of the reason was that she had developed some strange feelings for Gu Fei. How could Yun Yun be that kind of woman? She was most aloof and noble, normally never getting angry over such matters. If it were any other man, even if Xun'er spoke to her like that, she wouldn't get angry and link arms with him, nor would she be so bold as to say such a slightly flirtatious remark. Moreover, regarding their intimate and ambiguous physical contact, did Yun Yun truly not notice it at all? Or did she tacitly allow it in her heart? On the other side, Xun'er had already been silenced by Gu Fei's sharp words. She was most delicate and couldn't stand the disgust and contempt in Gu Fei's eyes when he looked at her. Before, it was always her who disdained Gu Fei. When did Gu Fei's gaze towards her only contain negative emotions, she sighed, feeling a bit nostalgic for the past. But soon, Xun'er realized what she was thinking. Her expression changed, and she bit her teeth, glaring at Gu Fei with dissatisfaction. Young Master Gu Fei, he should have been helping that young lady break the seal just now. As an observer, Ling Ying naturally saw things more clearly. He noticed some changes in Yun's cultivation aura and explained to Xun'er. So that's how it is, they weren't doing anything improper in there. Upon hearing this, Xun'er suddenly understood. She couldn't help but feel remorse for some of the hasty words she had just spoken. In truth, this was also human nature. Yun's appearance and temperament indeed made Xun'er feel a certain threat. "I'm sorry, Gu Fei," Xun'er intended to apologize, but at this moment, Gu Fei couldn't be bothered to pay attention to her. Instead, he turned to the Lion King and said, "Lion King, is there anything else you need to prepare? Master, what I'm most worried about is my child who hasn't grown up yet. If I leave, I'm afraid surrounding demonic beasts will attack my child." The Lion King said worriedly, "There's no need to worry about that. I will set up a seal in your child's cave to ensure its safety. In a few years, when it has completely absorbed the energy from the accompanying purple crystal source inside, that will be the time for your reunion." Gu Fei said indifferently, then directly went to the Lion King's cave. Yun also didn't want to face Xun'er and Ling Ying alone, so she spread her Du Qi wings and followed behind Gu Fei. After the Lion King entrusted his child, the little purple crystal beast, Gu Fei began to cast a seal on the cave. With his strength, as long as no extremely powerful peak Du Zong or Du Zun experts attacked, the seal would not be broken. Next, Gu Fei directly went onto the Lion King's back. In this vast northwest continent, having a 6th-tier demonic beast for transportation would be more convenient. In terms of speed, although it wasn't as fast as flying himself, it was sufficient. Farewell. If there's an opportunity in the future, I will certainly repay this favor. The system prompted. Yun is experiencing reluctance. Emotional value plus 100 Yun bid farewell to Gu Fei, feeling a sense of reluctance in her heart. She didn't know what was wrong with her. This was the first time she had felt such strange emotions towards a man. Chapter 35. Gu Fei, Little Medical Fairy, are you going to chase me away? After Gu Fei parted ways with Yun, he only wanted to see Xiao Yixian as soon as possible. He wondered how she was doing alone in the small mountain valley. He sat on the amethyst-winged Lion King's back, rushing towards the small mountain valley where Xiao Yixian was. It seems I misunderstood him again. Xun'er, on her side, had personally witnessed Gu Fei and Yun separating and acting independently, and had also overheard their conversation just now. Only then did she realize that she might have misunderstood Gu Fei again. The previous jealousy completely dissipated, and Xun'er bit her lower lip tightly. Xun'er experienced self-reproach, emotional value plus 100. She felt a bit guilty, wondering if her attitude just now had been too much, and wanted to catch up to Gu Fei to clarify things. However, she hesitated for a moment. Xun'er knew that Gu Fei currently disliked her very much and was unwilling to be with her. After a long while, Xun'er sighed, and in the end, she watched Gu Fei's figure disappear like a shooting star into the distance, rapidly vanishing from sight without moving a single step. Never mind, I should find brother Xiao Yan first. I don't know how he's doing alone. Ling Ying silently followed, and the two of them began searching for Xiao Yan's tracks in the mountain range again. No one mentioned the recent chaos again. At this moment, in the small mountain valley, Xiao Yixian had been waiting for Gu Fei for most of the day. If it were in the past, in such an energy-rich and beautiful place, Xiao Yixian could stay alone for a long time. But when it came to waiting for Gu Fei, even this short half-day, her thoughts were very muddled. She loved to overthink. Several butterflies flew back and forth by the window, and Xiao Yixian rested her chin in her hand, watching them intertwine. The sunlight slanted down, the girl's delicate face showed no expression, and the corners of her mouth, which always curved upwards when facing Gu Fei, now lacked their usual arc. During the half-day she spent waiting in the small mountain valley, her complexion was always somewhat melancholic. With one hand, she tucked her messy hair behind her small ear, and Xiao Yixian seriously began to read a medical book. A moment later, she leaned back in her chair and sighed. Xiao Yixian was actually a somewhat pessimistic person. Now that she was alone in this vast, small mountain valley, she always loved to think about negative things. She had also thought, what if Gu Fei had actually lied to her, and this time he left and would never come back? At that time, should she hate that young man? Her thoughts were very complex, her eyebrows furrowed, presenting the image of a frail willow swaying in the wind. Xiao Yixian experienced irritation, emotional value plus 100. As Gu Fei approached the valley, he received a prompt from the system. At this moment, the girl in the house was still looking at the medical book she couldn't focus on, but soon she noticed a whooshing sound. Xiao Yixian experienced surprise, emotional value plus 100. She looked up in pleasant surprise, but what met her eyes was a fierce and enormous demonic beast. The demonic beast was colossal, its body spanning 7 or 8 meters, and its surface was covered with a layer of purple crystals. Under the sunlight, it shimmered brightly, quite dazzling. The demonic beast's head was a rather ferocious-looking lion's head, with blood-red beast eyes tinged with a strange purple glow, and a huge mouth full of fangs. Above the lion's head, there was also a half-remaining fiery red spiral horn, with clusters of purple flames swirling and lingering at its tip. On the side of the huge lion's body, there was a pair of purple wings. As the purple wings flapped, clusters of light purple flames like flamethrowers swept out, covering the sky and earth. Its 4 thick claws were also encased in a layer of purple crystal. Each step would cause the void realm to tremble, making it hard to imagine its immense power. The colossal demonic beast stood in the void realm, and an invisible pressure descended from the sky, causing Xiao Yixian's heart to tremble uncontrollably. Xiao Yixian experienced fear, emotional value plus 100. However, the demonic beast did not seem to have any ill intent. It slowly descended to the ground. When Xiao Yixian clearly saw the very familiar figure standing on the demonic beast's back, her lips curved into a smile, and her eyes sparkled. Xiao Yixian experienced happiness, emotional value plus 100. She lifted the hem of her long dress and anxiously ran over, her silver bells jingling, the graceful girl rushing towards Gu Fei. Gu Fei leaped down from the amethyst-winged lion king's back. "You've waited a long time, haven't you? I was eager to come back and see you. This is the mount I subdued. Were you scared by it just now?" When Gu Fei spoke to Xiao Yixian, his voice was soft and gentle. Xiao Yixian nodded lightly, her face slightly flushed. "Brother Gu Fei was eager to come back and see me." Xiao Yixian experienced shyness, emotional value plus 100. Gu Fei rubbed the tip of his nose. Not seeing Xiao Yixian for most of the day, he had many things he wanted to tell her. The two of them just stood beside the amethyst-winged Lion King and chatted. The Lion King's tall stature conveniently shielded them from the sun. This is a 6th-tier demonic beast. In the future, if we need to go to other places, it can carry us. Xiao Yixian experienced surprise, emotional value plus 100. You can even subdue a 6th-tier demonic beast. Xiao Yixian experienced worry, emotional value plus 100. Her gaze, tinged with a hint of worry, fell upon Gu Fei. "The demonic beast looks very fierce. You weren't hurt, were you?" A simple question of concern, yet Gu Fei felt his heart quicken for a moment. This was the first girl to ask if he was hurt since he became a Du Zong. Xun'er and Yun Yun both knew he was powerful, but they never asked if he would get hurt. Gu Fei's smile grew even gentler as he patted the girl's head. "Of course not. How could I get hurt?" Subsequently, the two spent another 2 days in the small mountain valley. Days without worries or pressure were truly wonderful, and Gu Fei never mentioned leaving. However, Xiao Yixian knew very well that an outstanding and destined to be extraordinary person like Gu Fei would not stay long in such a secluded small mountain valley. She couldn't help but feel worried. Gu Fei was cultivating when he continuously received system prompts. Xiao Yixian experienced worry, emotional value plus 100. Xiao Yixian experienced reluctance, emotional value plus 100. This silly girl, what is she overthinking? Gu Fei also noticed some of her emotional changes. Just as Gu Fei was about to speak, Xiao Yixian spoke first. Brother Gu Fei, if you have other things to do, you don't have to worry about me. I can live well here by myself. Are you driving me away? Hearing this, Gu Fei feigned anger. Xiao Yixian experienced panic, emotional value plus 100. No, it's not like that. Xiao Yixian shook her head repeatedly. I just feel that this place is not suitable for your cultivation. The outside world belongs to you. Xiao Yixian, if I go to other places, would you be willing to come with me? Gu Fei asked with a very serious expression. The air fell silent for a moment, and Gu Fei felt an uncharacteristic sense of apprehension. Xiao Yixian nodded in agreement almost without hesitation, without the slightest doubt. After chapter 36, I can refine any elixir you want for you. All right then, prepare yourself these next few days. We'll leave together when the time comes. Gu Fei reached out and stroked Xiao Yixian's head, his eyes showing a tenderness he had never displayed since his divorce from Xun'er in the ancient world. Xiao Yixian feels shy. Emotional value plus 100. She secretly glanced at Gu Fei, her eyes filled with a radiant smile, in the border region of the magical Beast mountain range. 8 extremities collapse. In a dense forest, a large black ruler, at a tricky angle, fiercely struck the waist of a Gale wolf. Suffering such a heavy blow, the Gale wolf let out a mournful howl and collapsed completely to the ground. The one fighting was Xiao Yan. In this border area of the magical Beast mountain range, he honed himself daily in combat, growing through life and death battles. This time, the Gale wolf Xiao Yan faced was a second-tier demonic beast, known for its speed, making it quite difficult even for high-level Dou master experts to deal with. If not for the training during this period, which greatly increased his combat experience, Xiao Yan would not have been able to kill the Gale wolf in such a short time. However, although Xiao Yan defeated the Gale wolf, his arm was also wounded, and blood was continuously flowing out. Damn beast. Xiao Yan cursed under his breath and walked towards a nearby cave. He did not choose to put away the Gale wolf's corpse, but instead intended to let its aura deter surrounding demonic beasts, allowing him a moment of relaxation. On the other side, Xun'er and Ling Ying were already very close to this location. Xun'er's eyes moved, and as if sensing something, she stopped at the entrance of a cave. Ling Ying exchanged a glance with her, and his aura cautiously probed into the cave. He sensed a familiar, weak aura. Young miss, we found him. After searching for 2 full days, Xun'er and Ling Ying finally discovered Xiao Yan. Xun'er and Ling Ying quickly entered the cave. Seeing Xiao Yan sitting cross-legged, cultivating with his eyes closed, Xun'er was very pleasantly surprised. But as her beautiful eyes shifted, she noticed the almost dried bloodstains and wounds on Xiao Yan's arm. Xiao Yan opened his eyes and was greatly surprised to see Xun'er suddenly appear. Brother Xiao Yan, are you all right? Xun'er asked with concern, tenderly bandaging the wound on Xiao Yan's arm. As the two reunited, Xiao Yan did not ask where Xun'er had been during this time. He understood in his heart that Xun'er was an existence he currently could not catch up to, and he could not hope for her to always stay by his side. He needed to cultivate even harder. The two sat down, and Xun'er gently wiped the bloodstains from his arm, her movements extremely soft. She bit her lower lip, hesitated for a moment, and whispered, Brother Xiao Yan, I'm sorry. Xiao Yan looked up, gazing at her with a puzzled expression. Someone wanted to kill you before, and it was because of me, because of my family. I'm sorry. Xun'er lowered her eyes, not daring to look at Xiao Yan, but Xiao Yan gently stroked her head. It's all right, how could I blame you? Immediately, his eyes narrowed, and a hint of coldness appeared on his still young face. Can a powerful family take lives so casually? Xiao Yan's words inevitably carried anger. He hadn't yet learned how to control his emotions. Thinking of the old Yao who was still unconscious in his storage ring, Xiao Yan frowned tightly. Previously, Gu Yao had merely spoken a casual sentence, and his subordinates traveled thousands of miles to the northwest continent, immediately attempting to kill him upon meeting. Xiao Yan, of course, could not contend against the experts of the Gu family, ending up in a near-death situation. If not for old Yao seizing the critical moment to intervene and save him, he would probably be dead. Therefore, Xiao Yan was still furious at this moment. Of course, he wasn't blaming Xun'er. Xun'er's background was mysterious. She was likely not in control of her own circumstances. Afterward, Xiao Yan stated his plans. Xun'er, I need to train in the magical beast mountain range. While improving my cultivation, I also need to search for spirit medicine to heal soul injuries. Even now, Xiao Yan still hadn't mentioned old Yao's existence to Xun'er. Xun'er understood him and didn't ask why he suddenly needed medicine to heal soul injuries. She recalled the mysterious, powerful person beside Xiao Yan earlier, and feeling very guilty about the previous incident, she earnestly said, "Brother Xiao Yan, don't worry. I will find the medicine to heal soul injuries for you as soon as possible." Upon hearing this, a trace of emotion flashed in Xiao Yan's eyes, and he agreed. He closed his eyes again, seizing the time to recover his depleted Dou Qi. The cave fell silent, Mist Valley. After continuing to live in the small mountain valley with Xiao Yixian for 2 or 3 days, Gu Fei was finally ready to leave. That day, he brought Xiao Yixian onto the Lion King's back, intending to traverse the magical beast mountain range. Gu Fei embraced Xiao Yixian's slender waist and leaped onto the Lion King's broad back. Xiao Yixian feels reluctant, emotional value plus 100 after getting on. Xiao Yixian looked back at the small mountain valley with longing eyes. "Big brother Gu Fei, can we come back here in the future?" Gu Fei stroked her fluffy head. "Of course. Whenever you want to come back, I'll bring you back." Only then did Xiao Yixian reveal a sweet smile. Subsequently, a transparent energy shield appeared on the Lion King's back. This was to protect the people inside from the strong winds caused by high-speed flight. The magical beast mountain range, which was extremely dangerous for the people of the Jia Ma Empire, had no effect on Gu Fei. Those low-tier demonic beasts, sensing the Lion King's aura, all prostrated themselves on the ground. How would they dare to block their path? Gu Fei's purpose for this trip was to traverse the magical beast mountain range and head towards the eastern border of the Jia Ma Empire. The eastern border, close to the Tagar Desert, held the exotic fire Gu Fei needed and the second demon fire remnant map. When the Lion King had been flying for a while, Gu Fei took out a medicinal pill from a jade bottle, intending to feed it to the Lion King to restore his strength. So this is a medicinal pill. It really can't compare to the crude way I fuse medicinal ingredients with ordinary flames. Looking at the smooth and lustrous surface of the medicinal pill, Xiao Yixian expressed her admiration. Not everyone needs to perform alchemy. "In the future, with me by your side, whatever medicinal pill you need, I can refine it for you," Gu Fei spoke softly. He knew that Xiao Yixian's dream was once to become an alchemist, but unfortunately, her attributes were not compatible. Xiao Yixian feels touched, emotional value plus 100 listening to Gu Fei's words. Xiao Yixian nodded obediently, her eyes full of smiles. She had also come to terms with the fact that she couldn't become an alchemist. After several days of flight, the amethyst-winged Lion King finally arrived at the edge of the desert. Perhaps due to its proximity to the desert, the weather here was quite dry and hot, and the scorching air made passing travelers sweat profusely. The blazing sun poured down from the sky, baking the ground below, which continuously emitted a stifling heat. That heat slowly rose, causing one's vision to become somewhat distorted and blurry. Looking from afar, the entire desert seemed somewhat distorted. One more chapter will be added, and 2 chapters will be updated on time at midnight. Chapter 37. Is it exposed? The amethyst-winged Lion King briefly stopped at the edge of the desert, where the surrounding climate was too hot. It's so hot. Without the protection of a shield, crystal beads of sweat continuously seeped from Xiao Yixian's forehead, wetting her purple hair, making it feel somewhat sticky. She loved cleanliness, but seeing Gu Fei deep in thought, she didn't disturb him. She just silently fanned herself by shaking her wrist. Although she had prepared beforehand, there were always oversights. Xiao Yixian's clothes were slightly thick at the moment. Qingshan town was like spring all year round, so her clothing was a bit thicker. but it was terribly hot here. Gu Fei turned to look at her, then waved his right hand. A barrier of Kai enveloped the two, and Xiao Yixian quickly felt the climate become much more comfortable. Xiao Yixian generated a joyful emotion, emotion value plus 100. After adjusting, the amethyst-winged Lion King flew back into the sky, heading towards Gu Fei's destination. Gu Fei's first destination was Hai Badong, whose cultivation had been sealed by Queen Medusa, and who was hiding in Mo City. Watching the yellow city gradually appear in his sight, Gu Fei didn't slow down, directly ordering the amethyst-winged Lion King to fly over it. Xiao Yixian sat on the Lion King's back, craning her head out to look at the city not far away. Her pupils excitedly dilated, and she was practically leaning out completely. Xiao Yixian generated an excited emotion, emotion value plus 100. Brother Gu Fei, the desert scenery is so beautiful. It's my first time seeing a city in the desert. Gu Fei helplessly pulled her back. Be careful. If you fall, I won't catch you. Xiao Yixian pouted and obediently sat back, though her expression still lingered on the view below with reluctance. Her eyebrows arched high, and a lovely pink blush suddenly bloomed on her face, her eyes wide. Xiao Yixian generated a shy emotion, emotion value plus 100. Brother Gu Fei, those people are dressed. Why are they dressed so revealingly? Gu Fei looked in the direction she indicated, a hint of curiosity in his eyes. Although he knew the descriptions in the original work, it was his first time seeing it with his own eyes, and he couldn't help but feel as intrigued as Xiao Yixian. As they gradually approached the city, more and more passers-by appeared. Most of the men among these passers-by were shirtless. Their skin was dark and lean, and they looked quite uninhibited at first glance. And the occasional women passing by, although their skin was also slightly dark, had a somewhat sexy bronze hue. The women here were not as reserved and shy as those within the empire. A tight leather outfit barely covered their chests and a small area below. However, their slender waists were boldly exposed. Long and taut thighs were also only covered by short skirts or shorts, and as they walked, their snake-like waists swayed, exuding a unique, charming allure and style. This style was very much like modern times. Gu Fei was accustomed to reserved and modest attire, so when he occasionally saw these provocatively dressed women, his gaze paused. Xiao Yixian generated a jealous emotion, emotion value plus 100. Xiao Yixian naturally noticed his reaction, bit her lower lip, and sulkily turned her head away. The next moment, Gu Fei retracted his gaze, sighed helplessly, and looked at Xiao Yixian with amusement. He muttered to himself, "They're just all right. They're not as good-looking as our Xiao Yixian." Xiao Yixian generated a smug emotion, emotion value plus 100. Only then did Xiao Yixian let out a soft HMPH and turn her head back. They bantered with smiles, and Xiao Yixian looked down at the yellow city, whose specific scale was now visible. Inside the city, unique desert-style urban architecture appeared in their vision, with peculiar-looking buildings that were a sight to behold. Above the city gate, two massive, pale red characters were carved into the city wall, and from a distance, they exuded a faint sense of bloodiness. Mo City. Gu Fei murmured softly, then smiled. As the amethyst-winged Lion King flew closer and gradually lowered its flight altitude, the originally relaxed city guards and pedestrians outside were filled with terror. Gu Rao generated a fearful emotion, emotion value plus 0.1. Mo Sha generated a scared emotion, emotion value plus 0.1. Most people had never seen a demonic beast as massive as the amethyst-winged Lion King. Gu Fei's gaze swept over them indifferently. Soon after, the Lion King stopped directly above the city. Next, Gu Fei embraced Xiao Yixian's waist and descended through the void realm, landing in the city. The city guards, who were originally bullies to the weak and cowards to the strong, merely glanced at him with apprehension, cowering and not daring to speak. His appearance immediately caused a huge sensation in the city. Yuan Jing generated a shocked emotion, emotion value plus 0.1. Huang Lion generated an admiring emotion, emotion value plus 0.1. The desert environment was isolated, outsiders generally wouldn't come in, and people inside wouldn't go out. People in such a place had never seen such a grand display. A young man who appeared to be only 16 or 17 years old not only possessed such a terrifying flying demonic beast, but could even fly through the air. It was simply unbelievable, Xiao Yixian chuckled. These people's reactions were exactly the same as hers when she first witnessed Gu Fei's strength, so it was perfectly normal. After all, anyone who saw a prodigy like Gu Fei would be startled. Next, Gu Fei paused his steps and called out to a passerby. "Excuse me, where is the map shop?" The passerby had just seen this composed young man leap from the enormous demonic beast and descend effortlessly from midair to the ground. He dared not answer such a powerful individual and immediately told Gu Fei the locations of the best map shops in the city. "Let's go, let's eat something first." After getting directions, Gu Fei didn't rush to find it. Instead, he planned to take Xiao Yixian to a restaurant in the city for a meal. After all, they had been traveling for a long time. He was fine, but Xiao Yixian's cultivation was not as high as his, and she was probably hungry. At this moment, because the Lion King was still hovering above the city, everyone in the city was extremely wary. Fearful glances were constantly cast towards the massive flying demonic beast in the sky. The demonic beast itself was calm, but the pedestrians below were probably terrified. Even if it had no desire to attack, it was like a knife hanging over their heads. How could they not be afraid? Xiao Yixian hesitated for a moment and said to Gu Fei, "Why don't we let the Lion King go outside for now? It will scare the people in the city." "All right." Hearing this, Gu Fei nodded. Since Xiao Yixian brought it up, although he didn't care about it, he readily agreed. He sent a message to the Lion King, telling him to circle outside the city. While Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian were dining in a restaurant, an old man with white hair walked out of an ancient shop in another part of the city. He had also seen the sixth-tier flying demonic beast, and a deep thought flashed in his eyes. Could it be that someone has discovered me? Chapter 38. Do you want to be so pathetic for the rest of your life? No, I must be overthinking. After this thought popped into his mind, the old man shook his head again. He believed that if someone had discovered him there, they would have come straight for him. But now, after the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, there was still no movement from his location. At this moment, the commotion in the city, as the amethyst-winged Lion King flew away from above it, slowly subsided. Thus, he dismissed his worries. "Are you full?" In Mo City, on the balcony of a restaurant named Liang Restaurant, Gu Fei looked at the Xiao Yixian opposite him with a slight smile. I'm full." Hearing this, the Xiao Yixian smiled and nodded, then took out a handkerchief she carried with her to wipe away some oil stains from the corner of her mouth. Although the conversation between the two was extremely ordinary, it was precisely this ordinariness that indicated a progression in their relationship. Now, their interactions no longer had the restraint they felt when they first met. Everything was relaxed and casual, and this way of getting along was the most comfortable. "Then, let's go buy a map now." Gu Fei stood up and left the restaurant with the Xiao Yixian. Next, Gu Fei and the Xiao Yixian walked through several streets in the city and soon arrived outside the quaint shop they had seen earlier. The shop was named Ancient Maps. Unlike other shops that were luxurious and ostentatious, it subtly exuded an ancient aura at first glance. Gu Fei and the Xiao Yixian walked into the shop side by side. The interior of the shop was not too spacious, and the faint light from 2 moonstones illuminated it quite brightly. There weren't many people buying maps inside, making it seem a bit deserted. Gu Fei's gaze swept around and finally settled on an old man behind the counter who was meticulously drawing a map with his head bowed. This old man was clearly quite old, but although his hair was completely white, the hand holding the black pen was still steady and strong. "It seems this person is Hai Badong." Gu Fei smiled, thinking to himself, and did not go directly to the counter to inquire. At this moment, Gu Fei's aura was restrained. Even Hai Badong, a former Du Emperor powerhouse, could not perceive Gu Fei's aura. Therefore, Gu Fei and the Xiao Yixian's entry did not attract Hai Badong's attention. Next, Gu Fei went alone to an ancient wooden shelf in the corner of the shop. This wooden shelf was clearly very old, covered with holes from decaying wood on it. Some yellowed maps were casually piled. Judging by the damaged marks on the surface of these maps, they seemed to be failed attempts at map-making, and this was precisely Gu Fei's target. He casually flipped through these yellowed maps with his palm, and a faint musty smell wafted towards him, making him frown slightly. The next moment, Gu Fei picked up a stack of failed works and lightly shook his palm. As he shook it, a damaged picture, only the size of a palm, suddenly fell from the stack of failed works. It's here after all. Seeing the fallen demon fire remnant map, Gu Fei was not surprised. He had known all along. The Purification Lotus Demon Flame Demon Fire Remnant map, once fully assembled, could become a secret means to counter the Purification Lotus Demon Flame when the purifying demonic Lotus Flame emerged. What is this? It looks like some kind of treasure map, but it's severely incomplete. The Xiao Yixian glanced at the Demon Fire Remnant map in Gu Fei's hand, curious as to why Gu Fei would be holding such a thing. Haha, this is a good item. Gu Fei smiled, not explaining much, and instead took the Demon Fire Remnant map to the counter and asked, "Elder, do you have any other Demon Fire Remnant maps like this?" Gu Fei knew that Hai Badong had another Demon Fire Remnant map. Back then, after obtaining the Demon Fire Remnant map, he studied it for a long time without an answer, so he split his portion into two. As Gu Fei's words fell, the old man inside the counter finally stopped drawing the map and suddenly looked up. His eyes were somewhat fierce, and there was a terrifying scar from his left cheek to the corner of his eye, which made the Xiao Yixian feel a little scared, and she subconsciously clutched Gu Fei's sleeve. "Don't be afraid." Gu Fei noticed the Xiao Yixian's action and gently stroked her head. "Have you seen this kind of Demon Fire Remnant map before?" the old man asked in surprise. Hai Badong experienced surprise, emotional value plus 80. "Yes, I have seen it before. I wonder if the elder would be willing to part with this treasure map and sell it to me." Gu Fei smiled and nodded. "No sale." The old man shook his head, his tone flat but with an undeniable finality. "Elder, as long as you are willing to sell it, you can name any price." Although he was rejected by Hai Badong, Gu Fei still did not give up. He was determined to get this Demon Fire Remnant map. "Young man, stop thinking about my Demon Fire Remnant map. I don't care about money, and don't even think about trying to snatch it. That wouldn't do you any good." The old man inside the counter waved his hand and said indifferently. He didn't seem to be afraid that Gu Fei would just take the Demon Fire Remnant map in his hand and run away. "Brother Gu Fei, since the elder is determined not to sell, let's go," the Xiao Yixian said very simply. She did not want Gu Fei to have a conflict with the old man. Moreover, in her opinion, Gu Fei would not do such a thing as snatching. "Don't worry, he will choose to sell." Hearing this, Gu Fei smiled at the Xiao Yixian, then turned to look at the old man. "You agree, don't you, former Du Emperor powerhouse? Who exactly are you?" As Gu Fei's words fell, a fierce glint immediately appeared in the old man's eyes inside the counter, and a powerful aura permeated the air. Hai Badong experienced shock and suspicion. Emotional value plus 80. What's going on? This sudden change made the Xiao Yixian a little surprised, but she was now aware of some of Gu Fei's strength, so she was not flustered by it. Gu Fei, on the other hand, emitted a warm kai to protect the Xiao Yixian, preventing her from being affected by the bone-chilling aura. "Young man, I didn't expect you to have some foundation." Seeing Gu Fei completely unaffected by his aura, the white-haired old man couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. "So, elder, what is your choice now?" Gu Fei nodded non-committally and smiled. "I said I wouldn't sell it to anyone. If you intend to take it by force, then don't blame this old man for bullying the young." The old man said indifferently, his white hair behind him moving without wind. Icy battle kai swirled around his body. At this moment, the Xiao Yixian stood quietly to the side, not interrupting. "What if I said I could undo the seal in your body? Would you still not consider it? Are you saying you want to be stuck in this small border town forever, being an ordinary shop owner selling maps?" Chapter 39. The Ice Emperor breaks the seal. How could such a monstrous person exist in the world? "Can you really undo my seal?" hearing Gu Fei's words. Hai Badong's eyes flickered, clearly showing some wavering. Hai Badong feels hesitant, emotion value plus 80. Do you know who placed the seal on me? However, very quickly, a hint of mockery appeared in Hai Badong's eyes as he chuckled. You're just a young lad. How dare you claim to undo a seal that I haven't been able to break for decades? Hai Badong feels disdain and suspicion, emotion value plus 80. Ha ha, it seems that to make you believe me, I'll have to display my cultivation. Listening to Hai Badong's mockery, Gu Fei chuckled and shook his head. At the same time, he no longer deliberately suppressed his cultivation aura. An extremely domineering aura spread from him, and in just an instant, it froze Hai Badong in place, his pupils widening. How is that possible? This aura, even the Medusa queen back then wasn't this powerful. Hai Badong feels shocked, emotion value plus 80. This young man, at such a young age, can possess such terrifying strength. It seems he really might be able to break my seal. A glimmer of hope couldn't help but rise in Hai Badong's heart. However, at this moment, he was also quite wary of Gu Fei. A prodigy like Gu Fei had completely refreshed his worldview. Hai Badong feels anticipation and wariness, emotion value plus 80. Haha, old sir, there's no need to worry. Since I said I'd trade, I won't resort to seizing anything by force. Knowing Hai Badong's emotions, Gu Fei said with a faint smile. Hearing this, Hai Badong also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. If Gu Fei were to seize it by force, he would truly be helpless, because the aura Gu Fei had displayed earlier was so powerful that even if Hai Badong hadn't been sealed, he would be no match for Gu Fei. Young friend, to be frank, I am Hai Badong, one of the Jia Ma Empire's former top 10 powerhouses. I presume you've heard of me. Hai Badong's address for Gu Fei changed from lad to the more respectful young friend, and when he said this, deep down, he seemed to have some expectations. I have. The Ice Emperor's name is quite renowned. Hearing this, Gu Fei nodded. His reply brought a hint of pride to Hai Badong's face, and he sighed inwardly. Even after so many years of disappearing, my former prestige still spreads throughout the empire. Then, may I ask where young friend comes from? Hai Badong continued to inquire. I am not from the Jia Ma Empire, Gu Fei stated directly. I came here because I heard that an unusual flame appeared in the Tagar Desert, and I came specifically to find it. Beside them, Xiao Yixian listened to these words without surprise. Gu Fei had already confided in her about seeking the unusual flame. So that's how it is. Hearing this, Hai Badong pondered. He didn't doubt Gu Fei's words. After all, it was difficult for a place like the Jia Ma Empire to produce such a prodigy as Gu Fei. Perhaps only the vast Central Plains could give birth to such a prodigy. Young friend just said you are willing to undo my seal. Is that true? The next moment, Hai Badong finally brought up the matter of his seal. Of course, it's true. Gu Fei nodded confidently. Hai Badong's seal was placed by the Medusa queen. To undo the seal, one could either use a high-grade medicinal pill for unsealing or forcefully break through the seal. With Gu Fei's current cultivation, achieving this was not difficult. Good, if young friend can truly undo my seal, then this incomplete map is yours. Additionally, I've been here for decades and can provide young friend with some information about the unusual flame as repayment. Receiving Gu Fei's affirmative answer, Hai Badong also showed his sincerity. Just this one incomplete map isn't enough. After Hai Badong offered his reward, Gu Fei smiled and shook his head, saying, there are some traces on one side of this incomplete map that differ from the other side. It's clearly been separated. I didn't expect this young man to not only have extremely strong cultivation, but also be incredibly meticulous. Hearing Gu Fei's words, Hai Badong's expression changed slightly, and he felt surprised again in his heart. Hai Badong feels shocked, emotion value plus 80. Young friend, you guessed correctly. This item was indeed divided into two by me. The other half is hidden. If young friend breaks my seal, I will give you that other incomplete map as well. Hai Badong hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Before the seal was broken, he wouldn't hand over the second incomplete map. Then let's begin. Gu Fei didn't hesitate either. Undoing a seal wouldn't take much time. How does young friend plan to break my seal? Hai Badong asked. Over the years, he had also been trying to find a solution for the seal, and he had even found a pill formula called the Breaking Calamity Pill. However, he struggled to find an alchemist capable of refining a 6th-grade medicinal pill and possessing an unusual flame. And he was also missing one ingredient. Subscribe for more amazing novel audiobooks. Don't forget to like, comment, and share infinite novel audio. For this kind of seal, you can just forcefully break it with battle kai, as soon as his voice fell. A scorching battle kai surged from Gu Fei's palms. This magnificent battle kai fluctuation instantly paled Hai Badong's face. He had no time to react before his body was enveloped by Gu Fei's powerful battle kai. Immediately after, a large amount of battle kai began to pour into Hai Badong's body. After a while, Hai Badong's body trembled violently, and his aged face suddenly tensed up. At the location of his forehead, a strange, dark green energy rapidly condensed. Moments later, it actually formed a thin, dark green energy snake pattern. These snake patterns were the key to locking Hai Badong's body's battle kai. And now, Gu Fei only needed to completely obliterate these snake patterns to break the seal. The process that follows might be a bit painful, so prepare yourself mentally. Gu Fei reminded Hai Badong, then with a movement of his hand seals, an energy immediately surged from within Hai Badong's body. At this moment, Hai Badong's veins bulged as if he was enduring immense pain. However, this didn't last long. After a short while, those snake patterns were squeezed out of Hai Badong's body by Gu Fei's battle kai energy. As soon as those snake patterns left Hai Badong's head, they trembled violently, then transformed into a wisp of green smoke, slowly dissipating. The instant the snake patterns left his body, Hai Badong's tightly shut eyes suddenly snapped open. A sharp glint shot out from his eyes like a tangible substance, and a fierce aura, like a roused lion, surged out from within his body, which had been suppressed for decades. Haha, this damned seal is finally gone. I'm a Dou Emperor again. With the seal broken, Hai Badong's face was filled with wild joy, and he threw his head back and laughed heartily. Chapter 40 Gu He. Is there anyone in the Jia Ma Empire whose alchemy skills are better than mine? Cloud Mist Sect. As the most powerful sect in the Jia Ma Empire, the Cloud Mist Sect's main sect was located on a majestic mountain only about 10 li away from the capital city of the Jia Ma Empire. Due to the name of the Cloud Mist Sect, this mountain was also known as Yunlan Mountain. A mountain named after a sect showed its extraordinary nature. Yunlan Mountain was steep, with cliffs on 3 sides, and only one path led to the summit, making it a dangerous place that was easy to defend and difficult to attack. Moreover, Cloud Mist Sect's disciples patrolled the entire mountain strictly at all times, making the entire mountain a small fortress. Just 2 li from the foot of Yunlan Mountain, there were 50,000 iron cavalry stationed by the empire. Although these 50,000 iron cavalry were ostensibly guarding the capital, anyone could see that this was the empire's ruler preparing for the fierce tiger approaching the capital. The sheer size of the Cloud Mist Sect was thus evident. At this moment, outside the main hall of the Cloud Mist Sect, a middle-aged man with a rather refined appearance stepped in with some urgency. This person was Gu He, an elder of the Cloud Mist Sect, and also, on the surface, the most formidable alchemist in the Jia Ma Empire. Upon hearing that Yun had returned to the sect, Gu He quickly rushed over. Sect Master. At this time, Yun was also in the main hall. As soon as Gu He entered, after a hurried greeting, he turned to look at her. Sect Master, did you obtain the purple spirit crystal on this trip? I heard that a terrifying battle broke out in the magical Beast Mountain range a few days ago. It must have been you and the amethyst-winged Lion King, right? Yun's eyes flickered. She shook her head and silently indicated that she had not obtained the purple spirit crystal. Ever since she left the magical Beast Mountain range, she had been somewhat distracted. Hearing this, Gu He also sighed. He had thought that the emotions Yun displayed were because she had not obtained the purple spirit crystal. If he had the purple spirit crystal, he could refine the amethyst pill for Nalan Yanran to consume. However, the next moment, Yun blinked her eyes, a smile suddenly appearing on her face, and she said, "Although I didn't get the purple spirit crystal, I accidentally obtained a medicinal pill better than the amethyst pill from a young alchemist." Hearing this, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, somewhat suspicious. Just as he was about to ask Yun, he was interrupted by her words. "I've already given that medicinal pill to Yanran. At least so far, the effects have been excellent, with no side effects, and her cultivation has grown very steadily. It's almost too perfect to be a medicinal pill." Yun's voice carried strong praise. After all medicine has some toxicity. Although medicinal pills mostly have mild medicinal effects, they all carry more or less medicinal toxicity. Occasional consumption is fine, but long-term, large-scale consumption can easily harm one's origin. Yun did not advocate Nalan Yanran consuming medicinal pills, but Nalan Yanran was eager to quickly improve her cultivation, and Yun trusted He's alchemy skills, which was why she proactively helped him find the purple spirit crystal. But the medicinal pill Gu Fei gave her was different. She didn't sense any toxicity. It was mild and harmless, as if there were no side effects at all. It was estimated that in less than a month, after fully digesting the power of the medicinal pill, Nalan Yanran would be able to successfully break through to the realm of a great Dou master. He couldn't help but frown when he saw Yun's high regard for another alchemist. How powerful could a medicinal pill refined by a young person be? Moreover, for a Dou master who wanted to reach the great Dou master realm, his amethyst pill was the best choice. And where did this young man's medicinal pill formula come from? However, after he personally inspected Nalan Yanran, he saw that her cultivation had indeed improved significantly after taking the medicinal pill. Her aura was noticeably much calmer, and the Dou Qi seemed to have been genuinely cultivated, very stable. This medicinal pill indeed exceeded the expected effects of the amethyst pill. This result also made it difficult for He to voice the words he had been holding back. Previously, when Yun asked him to refine medicinal pills, he proposed a condition, that Yun accompany him to the Tagar Desert to search for a strange flame. Yun readily agreed at the time, promising He that once he successfully refined the amethyst pill and Nalan Yanran consumed it, she would help him search for the strange flame. But now, before he could refine the amethyst pill, Yun had already obtained a more effective and gentler medicinal pill from someone else, which made it difficult for He to bring it up. After all, this was him breaking his promise, so how could he still ask for compensation? He's lips moved. Although Yun was a bit slow, after seeing it often enough, she knew what he wanted to say. "Elder He, don't worry, I will still help you with what I promised before. Consider it a thank you for all the help you've given the Cloud Mist sect in the past." Yun said coolly. After all, he had contributed greatly to the Cloud Mist sect. One must know that the medicinal pills of a pill king were extremely difficult to obtain in the outside world. When he refined medicinal pills for them in the Cloud Mist sect, he usually only charged a very small fee, or, like this time, he would ask the other party to accompany him on an outing to lend a hand. After all, although he was powerful in alchemy, his strength was still insufficient for self-preservation. Choosing a few powerful bodyguards and exchanging his refined medicinal pills for their assistance was his best option. As the sect master, even though he couldn't help her this time, if she didn't help him, it wouldn't be right, both emotionally and logically. "Then many thanks, sect master." He was overjoyed and then said, "The sooner the better for this matter. We'll depart tomorrow." Yun readily agreed. In Stone Desert City, with Gu Fei's help, Hai Badong finally recovered his Dou Emperor cultivation. He broke the seal and felt the long-lost abundance of power throughout his body. But Hai Badong still dared not attack Gu Fei and, with great reluctance, handed over the half-incomplete map as he had promised. Furthermore, he also gave Gu Fei an additional map he had drawn, which might contain the location of a strange flame. Of course, Gu Fei didn't actually need the strange flame's location, because he knew that at this time, the strange flame had already been taken by Queen Medusa. Going to look for it now would only be a wasted trip. What Gu Fei needed was simply a map of the desert. Very good, thank you. Gu Fei smiled as he took it, then left the ancient map shop with Xiao Yixian. Next, they were going to truly enter the desert. Stone Desert City could only be considered the outer edge of the desert, and where they were going was the uninhabited depths of the desert. The climate there was harsh and extremely hot, with scarce water resources, so Gu Fei began to purchase some supplies with Xiao Yixian in Stone Desert City. In the desert, water was essential, and some food was also purchased. Xiao Yixian obediently followed behind Gu Fei. Gu Fei didn't ask her to help carry things. Instead, he put everything into his storage ring. After gathering their supplies, they left the city, got onto the Lion King's back, and set off again for the depths of the desert. Chapter 41, Entering Shimo City, the little girl Qing Lin. Such a genius could he be from Central Plains. Hai Badong, at this moment, had already recovered his former Dou Emperor's strength. He was currently using Dou Qi wings, hovering in the sky outside Mo City. His eyes were dazed as he watched Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian ride away on the massive flying demonic beast, the amethyst-winged Lion King, and he murmured in his heart. Hai Badong, of course, recognized that the gigantic demonic beast was the overlord of the magical Beast Mountain range's outer perimeter, a sixth-tier demonic beast, the amethyst-winged Lion King. A sixth-tier demonic beast was equivalent to a human race Dou Emperor's cultivation. The amethyst-winged Lion King was even in the middle stage of the sixth tier, and even he would have to be careful facing it head-on. Now, Hai Badong's cultivation had recovered, and the seal was broken. The Ice Emperor, who once dominated the world, had finally returned completely. He had been sealed of all his cultivation by Queen Medusa, and had lived a miserable, muddled existence in Stone Desert City, guarding a small shop. Perhaps Hai Badong was lucky this time to meet Gu Fei, or perhaps he was unlucky to be extorted out of a large sum of blood by Gu Fei. If it were before, the unruly Ice Emperor might have had a good fight with Gu Fei. But now, after so many years of tempering, he no longer had the same spirit as before. Moreover, although he couldn't see through Gu Fei's strength, he could sense the terrifying energy hidden within that seemingly frail young man's body. Therefore, the sudden surge in his strength at this moment did not make the current Hai Badong harbor any ill intentions towards Gu Fei. He could confirm that Gu Fei's strength far surpassed his own. The aura Gu Fei exuded that time was much stronger than when Hai Badong faced Queen Medusa back then. His intuition told Hai Badong that this young man, whose depth was unknown, was extremely dangerous. And those incomplete maps, which might contain some treasure, although Hai Badong didn't know what their exact purpose was, he still knew. The secrets hidden within these incomplete maps would definitely not be small. After all, back then, it was because of these incomplete maps that he was hunted by Queen Medusa. He ended up in a miserable state, with his cultivation sealed, constantly hiding and fleeing. What kind of person was Queen Medusa? The absolute queen of the Snake People tribe. Proud and powerful as she was, it was probably the first time she had pursued someone to the ends of the earth, personally seeking Hai Badong and those incomplete maps. I've been gone for so long. It's time I returned to the imperial capital to see how my old friends are doing. A moment later, Hai Badong gently exhaled a turbid breath, his brows relaxed, and he finally cast aside the thoughts of Gu Fei and the incomplete maps in his mind. He had spent too much energy and time on these matters. Now that they were all taken away by Gu Fei, he felt a long-lost sense of ease. After all, guarding a treasure, constantly fearing when Queen Medusa would appear before him and mercilessly kill him, was truly too arduous. Gu Fei, this time, could be considered to have lifted his heavy burden. Before leaving, Hai Badong took one last look at the large city situated at the edge where the desert met the land. Yellow sand filled the sky, enthusiastic people walked shoulder to shoulder through the market. Everything was so familiar, yet today he had to bid farewell, unexpectedly. Hai Badong had also thought that he might grow old, constantly on edge in Stone Desert City. Fortunately, someone gave him a chance to return. He sighed lightly, his expression a little lonely. These decades of reclusive life had made him, who was originally quite indifferent, develop some feelings for this place. Hai Badong did not look back again, his figure gradually receding. He didn't know if he would ever return in this life. The ancient shop at the corner quietly closed. No one knew where the old shop owner went, only that the shop never opened its doors again. On the other side, as the Lion King carried Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian deeper into the desert, the surrounding climate became increasingly hot. However, staying on the back of the amethyst-winged Lion King, with the energy shield isolating them, Xiao Yixian did not feel this heat. She sat on the Lion King's broad back, looking out at the scenery below. The difference here from Qingshan town was too great. Even though Xiao Yixian had seen it several times, she couldn't help but marvel. Along the way, they saw a lot of the local customs below, and they also saw snake people, which greatly piqued Xiao Yixian's curiosity. Are these snake people? Big brother Gu Fei, walking with a snake tail, seems quite special. Xiao Yixian was not afraid of these humanoid snake-bodied creatures. Her eyes were pure and full of curiosity. Gu Fei just smiled and didn't tell her what a terrifying existence snake people were to human race. At one point, Xiao Yixian yawned and looked down again. She saw a battle between snake people and human race in the desert below. There were more than a dozen tall snake people, surrounding 7 or 8 human race. The snake people were tall and physically strong, making the human race among them appear weak and pitiful. It was then that Gu Fei explained that most snake people intensely disliked human race, and their temperament was brutal. Many snake people would kill any human race they saw. If nothing unexpected happened, these human race would all be killed in this siege. The snake people tribe and the human race of the Jia Ma Empire harbored mutual hatred. This hatred had even reached the point where they would attack each other upon sight. This hatred had accumulated over time, with no absolute right or wrong, and it was a disaster for both sides. Originally, Gu Fei had not intended to interfere in such matters. However, when Xiao Yixian saw this scene, she unhesitatingly asked Gu Fei for help. "Big brother Gu Fei, please help them." Xiao Yixian said in a pleading tone with some pity in her eyes, because she saw that among the human race below, there was also a woman holding a child. All right. Upon hearing this, Gu Fei glanced at Xiao Yixian. The panic in her eyes made Gu Fei feel her kindness once again. Since Xiao Yixian had spoken, how could Gu Fei remain indifferent? So, he directly ordered the Lion King to fly towards that direction. With the Lion King's size, even before it got close, both sides were scared and scattered, and only then did those human race get a glimmer of hope. With the speed of the Lion King, in just half a day, they approached Stone Desert City, one of the outermost cities on the border of the Jia Ma Empire. Upon arriving here, Gu Fei paused. He remembered that Qing Lin, the pitiful girl with half-human race bloodline and half-snake people bloodline, was in this city. From Gu Fei's understanding, Qing Lin was kind by nature, but from childhood she had suffered unfair discrimination and abuse. Even though she possessed a powerful talent, it had never been activated. So, Gu Fei had an idea. He wanted to guide Qing Lin to cultivate in advance. Perhaps, only with strong strength would those who once discriminated against and insulted her no longer dare to do so, and she would gain fairness instead of baseless abuse and humiliation. Moreover, Qing Lin was also a significant character in the original work, and her luck must be good. If she could stay by his side for a long time, it would also be very helpful for Gu Fei to collect emotional value. Chapter 42. Your face is so red. Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? This time, without Xiao Yixian needing to remind him, Gu Fei didn't directly let the amethyst-winged Lion King fly into the city and cause panic like last time. Instead, he stopped a few miles outside the city, letting the Lion King wait somewhere outside while he and Xiao Yixian discreetly entered the city. Upon entering Stone Desert City, Gu Fei still took Xiao Yixian to a restaurant first. Deep in the desert, yellow sand filled the sky, and people would choke on a lot of yellow sand even just by taking a breath. Although most cities had a formation to filter the air, it wasn't enough. Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian flew in from high altitude, so the situation was better than on the ground. After all, they still had the protection of a shield. However, just walking from outside the city to inside, both of them were covered in a lot of yellow sand stirred up by the strong wind. Xiao Yixian looked at her white long dress, which had become somewhat dirty, with a desire to cry. Her face was also covered in some yellow sand. Gu Fei looked down and chuckled, but the sharp-eared Xiao Yixian heard him and glared at him with her big eyes. Were you just secretly laughing? Xiao Yixian produced suspicious emotions. Emotion value plus 100. Gu Fei quickly cleared his throat and shook his head with a serious expression. Just as Xiao Yixian's almond-shaped brows were raised in anger, about to speak, Gu Fei quickly interjected. Let's find a place to bathe first, and I'll take you to buy clothes later. Okay. Xiao Yixian's attention was caught by his words, and her eyes lit up. Xiao Yixian produced excited emotions, emotion value plus 100. Really? Big brother Gu Fei, you're not allowed to lie to me. I saw many shops displaying pretty clothes on the way here. Gu Fei chuckled and patted her fluffy head. All right, later. All my money will be for you to buy clothes. Xiao Yixian produced excited emotions, emotion value plus 100 normally. Xiao Yixian seemed very steady, but she was still a young girl after all, and she couldn't take her eyes off beautiful clothes. Xiao Yixian accompanied him without complaint, traveling thousands of miles from Qing town to Stone Desert City. Of course, he had to be good to this girl. Xiao Yixian giggled, loudly agreed, and then hurried off to bathe. Gu Fei didn't have any dirt on him, but he also took a bath. After all, he always felt a bit dirty, so it was better to wash up. Soon, both of them finished bathing and were clean. Xiao Yixian changed into another long dress and was the first to walk onto the street. Gu Fei followed behind her, a smile on his lips, watching the vibrant girl in front. Ever since she came to the desert, her personality had become much more cheerful. She dared to openly make requests to him and even joked around. Gu Fei was quite pleased, as this indicated that Xiao Yixian now trusted him immensely. No, from the moment he extended an invitation, and Xiao Yixian unhesitatingly agreed to leave Qing town, this girl was destined to be with him. Her true personality was probably like this, cheerful and playful. The gentle Xiao Yixian in Qing town was merely a perfect mask she used to hide herself. Big brother Gu Fei, hurry up and catch up. Xiao Yixian looked back and saw Gu Fei standing still, lost in thought, and quickly called out to him loudly. Coming. Gu Fei waved and walked towards Xiao Yixian. These outfits were all very exotic. Although they weren't as form-fitting and bold as what Xiao Yixian had seen before, they still had a lot of cutouts. Xiao Yixian held a skirt, silent for a moment, then secretly glanced at Gu Fei, her small face suddenly turning a strange shade of red. Xiao Yixian produced shy emotions, emotion value plus 100. Gu Fei sat aside, waiting for her to choose clothes. Hearing the system prompt, he looked over somewhat puzzled. He saw her lips curve upwards, as if she was secretly smiling, but her face was flushed. Your face is so red. Are you feeling unwell? Gu Fei asked, a little worried as he walked closer. Xiao Yixian produced panicked and shy emotions. Emotion value plus 100. Xiao Yixian seemed startled by him, jumping away, her earlobes red and her eyes darting around. It's nothing. Gu Fei shook his head, picked up a few clothes Xiao Yixian had chosen, and went to pay the bill. Turning back, he saw Xiao Yixian's eyes filled with stars. Xiao Yixian produced happy emotions, emotion value plus 100. Big brother Gu Fei, you are so handsome. When I was in Qing town, the sister in the shop next door told me that only men who are willing to spend money on women are good men. After she finished speaking, Gu Fei helplessly rubbed his forehead and led the constantly chattering silly girl back to the restaurant. The next day, Gu Fei planned to go find Qing Lin. Qing Lin's situation had always been very difficult. If he went a day earlier, he could free her from that predicament sooner. Although Gu Fei prided himself on not being a good person, Qing Lin's original life in the novel was truly not a decent one. Plus, she could also provide him with emotion points, so he decided to find Qing Lin earlier. Xiao Yixian, yesterday in this city, I sensed an extremely powerful physique, and I had the idea of taking on a disciple. Xiao Yixian produced puzzled emotions, emotion value plus 100 upon hearing this. Xiao Yixian's face showed some confusion, and she muttered in her heart. Big brother Gu Fei is going to take a disciple. Then, won't there be another person by his side from now on? Xiao Yixian, once I find the person, I'll take you with me. Stay in the room by yourself, don't go anywhere, and absolutely don't run around, understand? Gu Fei instructed. Big brother Gu Fei seems to care about me a lot. Listening to the tension in Gu Fei's voice, Xiao Yixian was stunned. Xiao Yixian produced touched emotions. Emotion value plus 100. Gu Fei didn't expect that a casual remark of his would elicit such a strong reaction from her. Xiao Yixian also didn't expect her heart to suddenly beat faster. Before, whenever Gu Fei had something to attend to, he would always leave her to wait alone. No, I want to go now and see what kind of person big brother Gu Fei's new disciple is. Xiao Yixian's lips curved, her eyes narrowed into crescents, and a smile bloomed on her pale red lips. This smile was more beautiful than an epiphyllum blooming briefly at midnight. Gu Fei watched. His eyes couldn't help but be momentarily dazed. He coughed to cover it up, quickly changing the subject. Xiao Yixian produced joyful emotions. Emotion value plus 100. Xiao Yixian's smile deepened when she saw Gu Fei's rare moment of fluster. All right then, let's go together. Next, Gu Fei nodded in agreement and directly took Xiao Yixian to fly above the city. There was nothing beneath his feet, yet he moved as if on solid ground, soaring freely and easily across the entire sky. And with Gu Fei's strength, almost no one in the entire city could detect his presence or aura. Unless seen with the naked eye, his existence would go unnoticed. In a corner of the city, there was a large manor, which was the stronghold of the Mo Tai mercenary group in Stone Desert City. Gu Fei remembered that the two young leaders of the Mo Tai mercenary group in Stone Desert City were Xiao Yan's elder brother, Xiao Ding, and his second brother, Xiao Lai. Chapter 43. Qing Lin, Master, Can I Mo Tai mercenary group training ground. More than a dozen mercenaries stood in formation, and in front of them were two young men. One of them, dressed in white, looked rather composed, while the other had a fierce expression on his face. These two were Xiao Yan's elder brother, Xiao Ding, and his second brother, Xiao Lai. At this moment, they were teaching Du techniques to the mercenaries in the training ground. Meanwhile, in the Mo Tai mercenary group's backyard, a slender young girl in green, with half her face obscured by braids of green hair, walked with her head down among the crowd. She appeared very young, seemingly not even 14 years old, and her emerald green eyes were as calm as water, yet possessed an inexplicable magic, like the cold eyes of a snake, drawing anyone who met her gaze into them. The girl's face was delicate and petite, but she never dared to raise her head in a crowd. No matter where the green-clad girl went, every person she encountered, whether a mercenary or a servant hired by the mercenary group, looked at her with almost complete disgust. With her head down, she accidentally bumped into a tall man. "Are you blind? You annoying thing, seeing you is really bad luck." The man turned back impatiently, and upon seeing a green braid and an exotic green outfit, he began to curse. Faced with such undisguised malice, the girl's eyes were very timid, and she never dared to resist. She only dared to hide in a secluded place, squat down, bury her head between her knees, and sob softly. "Little girl, do you want to stop being discriminated against from now on?" Suddenly, a voice sounded in Qing Lin's ear. The person who asked this question was none other than Gu Fei, who had quietly infiltrated the Mo Tai mercenary group. Qing Lin couldn't stop her soft sobs, but she held her breath the moment she heard the voice. Qing Lin felt surprised. Emotion value plus 70, she suddenly looked up and saw two older siblings, a brother and a sister, a few years her senior. These two were, of course, Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian, who had rushed to the Mo Tai mercenary group. Both of them had been concealing their auras from high in the sky, observing some of the unfair treatment Qing Lin had endured. Although Qing Lin had found a place to stay in the Mo Tai mercenary group, she still suffered from this inexplicable discrimination and abuse. Especially Xiao Yixian, seeing these things, her sympathy overflowed. She had been watching from behind earlier, and Xiao Yixian almost couldn't help but rush over several times. Xiao Yixian felt anger and heartache, emotion value plus 100, and after Gu Fei learned of Xiao Yixian's emotions, he also told her about Qing Lin's background. Xiao Yixian had heard before that near the Taggart Desert, human women were occasionally humiliated by snake people. Normally, relationships between snake people and humans generally do not result in pregnancy. However, nothing is absolute. There is always an extremely rare chance that women who have relations with snake people will become pregnant and give birth. Qing Lin was a child born from the union of a snake person and a human, possessing the bloodline of a snake person. Snake people and humans seem to have an innate hatred for each other. Both humans and snake people consider people like Qing Lin to be a curse. Surviving for so many years seemed to bring nothing but more disdainful looks and ridicule. Even later, when Qing Lin was taken in by the two leaders of the Mo Tai mercenary group to work as a maid, responsible for logistics, she was still disliked by almost all the mercenaries. Mercenaries on the edge of the desert harbored an indelible blood feud with snake people. Qing Lin was certainly pitiable, but whenever they thought of the snake person bloodline within her, they couldn't help but feel hatred and disgust. Qing Lin, possessing both human and snake person bloodlines, bore the discrimination and disgust from both snake people and humans. In truth, she was extremely innocent and had never committed any wrong. Qing Lin felt bewildered. Emotion value plus 70. Qing Lin looked at Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian with some bewilderment. At this moment, Gu Fei's feet had not touched the ground. He was suspended in midair. This young man, at a glance, was clearly a powerful individual. At the very least, there was no one stronger than him in Stone Desert City. Qing Lin felt hesitant. Emotion value plus 70. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded gently, but her eyes still held some timidity. If you want to, then take me as your master. I can make you a powerhouse admired by thousands. Gu Fei said. Qing Lin felt longing, emotion value plus 100 afterward. Xiao Yixian also came directly to Qing Lin's side and persuaded her. Come with us. This big brother is very powerful. Later, when your cultivation becomes stronger, no one will dare to bully you again. Xiao Yixian was very kind. Her gentle eyes and the feeling she gave Qing Lin were very pleasant. Qing Lin looked at her, felt a bit more relaxed, and showed a faint smile. Qing Lin felt relaxed, emotion value plus 100. Young master, can I do it? Qing Lin was very tempted, but her gaze was still somewhat anxious as she looked at Gu Fei. You can do it. Since I chose you, it proves you have that potential. Gu Fei nodded. I am willing to take young master as my master, Qing Lin solemnly said. However, the two leaders of the Mo Tai mercenary group have been kind to me. They took me in to work here before, so before I leave, I want to say goodbye to them to prevent them from worrying. Gu Fei then agreed. He directly swept the mercenary group with his soul power and quickly used a soul message to summon the two over. The voice, carrying immense pressure, surprised Xiao Ding and Xiao Lai in the training ground. Xiao Ding felt surprised and panicked. Emotion value plus 50. Xiao Lai felt surprised. Emotion value plus 50 afterward. Xiao Ding and Xiao Lai quickly came to Gu Fei. Qing Lin slowly explained that she was leaving after taking Senior Gu Fei as her master. She also thanked leaders Xiao Ding and Xiao Lai for their previous care. Seeing this, Xiao Ding and Xiao Lai breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were a little surprised, not expecting Gu Fei to look so young yet possess such terrifying strength. They had initially thought they had offended such a powerful individual and had rushed over filled with apprehension. Finally, after hearing what happened, they were also happy for Qing Lin. Xiao Ding felt happy, emotion value plus 50. Xiao Lai felt happy, emotion value plus 50. In consideration of how you two previously looked after Qing Lin, take these 2 medicinal pills. They are beneficial for cultivation and can also heal many hidden injuries on your bodies. Gu Fei took out 2 medicinal pills useful for improving Dou master cultivation and handed them to the two. Without waiting for their reaction, he left with Qing Lin and Xiao Yixian. Xiao Ding and Xiao Lai exchanged glances, their eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, senior." Xiao Ding felt grateful. Emotion value plus 50. Xiao Lai felt grateful. Emotion value plus 50. Chapter 44. Activating the physique. Xiao Yixian's amazement. After returning to the inn, Xiao Yixian shared a room with Qing Lin. Although Qing Lin was female and quite beautiful, she was still young and completely oblivious to many things. Xiao Yixian was not the type to be jealous of other women following Gu Fei. Furthermore, Gu Fei was merely taking her as a disciple, and Qing Lin's background was so pitiful. "Qing Lin, see which one you like, go take a bath and change into it." In the room, Xiao Yixian took out several new outfits she had just bought on the street that were the right size for Qing Lin. "Thank you, Sister Xiao Yixian." Qing Lin's eyes reddened, and she whispered her thanks. It was truly wonderful to have met them. The next day, the three of them woke up early and wandered around Stone Desert City. At first, Qing Lin was somewhat reserved. After all, the aura Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian possessed was different from everyone else in the Sand mercenary group. Especially Gu Fei. Although he looked unremarkable at first glance, possessing only good looks and not particularly strong Kai fluctuations, Qing Lin felt an inexplicable sense of awe toward him. She always felt that Gu Fei was the most formidable person she had ever met. Along the way, Xiao Yixian kept talking to her, encouraging her to open up and not to treat herself as an outsider. Both Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian treated her with the affection one would show a child, and she quickly became comfortable with them. The head she usually kept bowed slowly lifted, and a brighter smile graced her face. She began to resemble a truly carefree 14-year-old girl. However, occasionally when she made eye contact with them, a trace of inferiority would flash in Qing Lin's eyes, and she would quickly look away. She did not want them to clearly see those cold, bewitching, jade-green snake pupils. Xiao Yixian was observant and noticed it immediately, finding an opportunity to secretly mention it to Gu Fei. With Qing Lin being this insecure, I fear she was often discriminated against by others before. There was heartache in her eyes, and Gu Fei quickly comforted her. "I will think of a way." Xiao Yixian trusted Gu Fei unconditionally. If he said he would think of a way, then she just needed to watch. After taking Qing Lin by his side, Gu Fei pondered for several days and felt that it was time to let her activate her talent. She had been bullied before because she never knew the terrifying nature of her talent. If Qing Lin could fully develop her physique, who would dare to look down on her? If she understood how powerful those snake pupils, which others discriminated against, truly were, perhaps she would also be happy, feeling that she had the power to protect herself and them. Qing Lin possessed the triple jade-green snake flower pupils, such a powerful physique that could control certain serpentine creatures and absorb their energy for her own use. Her talent could be described as extremely strong. These triple jade-green snake flower pupils were extremely rare, 1 in 10,000. If Qing Lin used them well, she would have great achievements in the future. Originally, before Xiao Yixian brought this matter up, Gu Fei had no intention of going to that deep underground magma region. Because the heavenly flame in the magma region had already been taken by Medusa, the remaining green lotus platform and earth fire lotus seeds were of no use to him. Therefore, he simply couldn't be bothered to make another trip, as it would be a waste of time. But now, Gu Fei had changed his mind. Since he had to take Qing Lin there to activate her talent and control the two-headed fire spirit snake, he could also take the opportunity to retrieve the green lotus platform and the earth fire lotus seeds. The green lotus platform and earth fire lotus seeds were useless to him, but they could speed up the cultivate of Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin. At night, Gu Fei informed Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin in advance. Qing Lin experiences excitement, emotional points plus 70 upon hearing that they were going out. The excitement in Qing Lin's eyes was about to overflow. She hurried back to her room, but she and Xiao Yixian chatted for a long time and couldn't sleep. After all, she was still a young girl. A short trip like this was probably her first time. Early the next morning, Gu Fei took Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin out. Based on his knowledge of the original work, he naturally knew the approximate location of that magma region. As they got closer, his powerful soul strength could sense a special aura. To think it's this place. Qing Lin experiences hesitation, emotional points plus 70 arriving at this desert. Qing Lin's expression was somewhat hesitant. She muttered to herself. Gu Fei naturally heard it clearly but did not speak, while Xiao Yixian looked at her in confusion. What's wrong? Qing Lin. Looking at Xiao Yixian's concerned eyes, Qing Lin's lips trembled. Making up her mind, she turned to look at Gu Fei. After all, big brother Gu Fei was the most powerful, so he would surely understand what she meant. Qing Lin spoke. Big brother Gu Fei, half a year ago, I already sensed that this place was unusual. In this area, half a year ago, it seemed that an extremely powerful aura had passed through here. This aura is somewhat similar to some of the bloodline within my body. When mentioning her bloodline, Qing Lin's voice was somewhat halting, and she glossed over it vaguely. And in front of that aura, even the leader of the Sand Mercenary group would be much weaker than him. Qing Lin added. Xiao Yixian also became curious, staring at Qing Lin incessantly, making Qing Lin feel a bit shy. She hadn't expected that Qing Lin could sense a powerful expert arriving here from dozens of miles away. Thinking back to how Gu Fei had previously said that Qing Lin had a gifted talent and wanted to take her as a disciple, Xiao Yixian was suddenly lost in thought. Qing Lin, your sensing is correct. A powerful expert did indeed come here. After hearing Qing Lin's words, Gu Fei nodded. Subsequently, he unleashed his Dou Qi, his body rapidly flying into the air. Hovering in the air, he grabbed with one palm toward a patch of desert. The air paused for a moment, and the sand there was directly sucked to both sides, constantly spreading outward. Before long, a passageway entrance appeared beneath the sand. Qing Lin experiences shock, emotional points plus 70. Big brother Gu Fei, did you sense this? How amazing. Seeing Gu Fei find a mysterious passage with such fluid movements, even though she knew Gu Fei was powerful, she was still taken aback by this speed. Gu Fei smiled indifferently and landed on the ground. Subsequently, Gu Fei took Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin down and entered the mysterious passage. Furthermore, they gradually reached the deepest part of the passage. Deep underground, the fire attribute energy was extremely dense, and the temperature was naturally very high. The surrounding air seemed to be distorted due to the excessive heat, and scorching waves of air swept through the entire narrow space. However, with Gu Fei's Dou Qi protection, Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin were unharmed. This was Qing Lin's first time experiencing such a Dou Qi barrier, and she looked at it with curiosity for a long time. They walked for a while and finally saw the end. At the end of the passage was an underground magma lake. In the huge cavern, fiery red magma flowed slowly. Occasionally, huge bubbles would emerge from the magma. However, after a moment, with a slight sound, pop, they would burst and scorching magma would shoot out, as gorgeous as a fiery red firework. Chapter 45, Snake Man Yume, Guhi reveals his whereabouts. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin were both surprised, captivated by the dazzling fiery red scene before them. Both stopped in their tracks. Let me show you a big fellow. Gu Fei smiled and plunged directly into the magma. Soon, he pulled out the two-headed fire spirit snake from within the magma. Moreover, he stimulated Qing Lin to activate the physique effect of her triple jade-green snake flower pupils. Heavens, Qing Lin, you can actually subdue a Tier 4 demonic beast. Watching Qing Lin actually manage to subdue the two-headed fire spirit snake, Xiao Yixian was also happy for her. Next, Gu Fei briefly introduced the triple jade-green snake flower pupils physique to the two of them. The two-headed fire spirit snake, terrifying and cunning in appearance, stood quietly in place after being tamed by Qing Lin, not moving a muscle. Qing Lin actually found it somewhat docile. A smile also appeared on her face. Within that simple smile was her relief regarding her own bloodline and those double snake pupils, as well as her gratitude towards Xiao Yixian and Gu Fei. Qing Lin generated gratitude emotion. Emotion value plus 70. Gu Fei glanced at her subtly, seeing the little girl as if all the burdens on her body had been lifted, her face full of relaxed smiles, and he felt much happier in his heart. Afterward, with Qing Lin commanding the two-headed fire spirit snake to lead the way, Gu Fei easily arrived at the birthplace of the green lotus core flame. He effortlessly retrieved the green lotus pedestal and the earth fire lotus seed, storing them all in his storage ring. Big brother Gu Fei, you should have found the abnormal flame this time, right? Seeing Gu Fei emerge, Xiao Yixian asked with some anticipation. No, Gu Fei shook his head. He took out a colorful scale and said, this kind of scale was left by Queen Medusa. Presumably, the abnormal flame here has already been taken by Queen Medusa. It seems we need to make a trip to the Snake People tribe. Oh, that's a pity. Xiao Yixian felt somewhat regretful. She knew Gu Fei came here to find an abnormal flame. Qing Lin also understood that perhaps Queen Medusa was the powerful Kai she had sensed half a year ago. Next, the three of them returned to the inn in Stone Desert City. After waiting for them to simply wash up, Gu Fei knocked on Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin's door. He had a serious expression, and Qing Lin also felt inexplicably nervous. Qing Lin, since you possess such a powerful physique, you are a good seedling for cultivation. Next, I will teach you the Tao of cultivation, Gu Fei said seriously. Qing Lin also nodded seriously. Qing Lin generated gratitude emotion. Emotion value plus 70. Her heart was filled with gratitude and joy. From now on, she would also have the strength to protect big brother Gu Fei and sister Xiao Yixian. Xiao Yixian watched the two finish their lesson before speaking, finally saying what she had been thinking about for a long time to Qing Lin. Qing Lin, I actually also have a special physique like yours, one that is disliked and feared by most people. It's called the Calamity Poison Body. She carefully explained to Qing Lin the threats the Calamity Poison Body would pose to those around her, and its terrifying hidden dangers, bit by bit. Xiao Yixian didn't know if she was comforting Qing Lin or speaking of the fear she had long harbored in her heart. She, too, feared the day she would be disliked by everyone around her and eventually be killed by the Calamity Poison Body. But seeing Qing Lin, Xiao Yixian's heart felt relieved. Qing Lin finally learned about Xiao Yixian's Calamity Poison Body. No wonder Xiao Yixian usually avoided physical contact with her. Sometimes, when Xiao Yixian seemingly unintentionally dodged her touch, Qing Lin would feel sad for a while, fearing that Xiao Yixian might be despising her. Learning about the hidden dangers of the Calamity Poison Body, Qing Lin felt worried for Xiao Yixian. At this moment, Gu Fei suddenly spoke. No need to worry, I have a way to resolve Xiao Yixian's hidden dangers. However, it requires a lot of materials. Once I find the abnormal flame, I will go search for those materials and strive to resolve it as soon as possible. Really? Hearing Gu Fei's words, the gloom in Xiao Yixian's eyes disappeared, and she said in surprise, how could Gu Fei not see the fear hidden beneath her bright smile? But he said nothing, waiting for Xiao Yixian to speak herself. Only then could her inner not be untied to the greatest extent. Xiao Yixian generated anticipation emotion. Emotion value plus 100 after hearing Gu Fei's words. Xiao Yixian's eyes lit up, and a smile unconsciously curved her lips, her purple eyes seeming to glow. Qing Lin was also genuinely happy for her. Next, Gu Fei and the other two spent 2 days preparing in Stone Desert City, buying many supplies for backup. Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin also happily visited all the stalls and shops. Gu Fei finally decided to depart and head towards the desert area occupied by the Snake People tribe. This time, after leaving Stone Desert City, the amethyst-winged Lion King was also summoned by Gu Fei. Qing Lin looked at Gu Fei and Xiao Yixian, who had stopped, with some confusion. Xiao Yixian kept looking up at the sky from time to time, as if waiting for something. Big brother Gu Fei, sister Xiao Yixian, why aren't we moving? Xiao Yixian smiled mysteriously. You'll know in a moment. It wasn't until a massive flying demonic beast sped towards them from afar in the high sky that Qing Lin fell into a daze. That behemoth circled a few times in the sky above them, slowly descended, and finally landed steadily on the ground. Qing Lin generated shock emotion, emotion value plus 70 Qing Lin. This is Big Brother Gu Fei's flying demonic beast. Isn't it great? Zhao Yixian explained with a smile. Qing Lin generated shock emotion, emotion value plus 70. Looking at the little girl's dazed expression, Gu Fei couldn't help but smile. He helped Zhao Yixian and Qing Lin onto the amethyst-winged Lion King's back. Qing Lin finally came to her senses, looking around excitedly. As the amethyst-winged Lion King flew into the sky, Qing Lin was as excited as Zhao Yixian had been the first time she rode on the Lion King's back, remaining excited the entire way. Following the map route, after flying for a full day, Gu Fei and his group arrived within the territory of the Maysnake tribe of the Snake People tribe. Because he was with two females and after a full day of long travel, Gu Fei found an oasis to stop, allowing them to bathe in the lake. This place is the territory of our Snake People tribe. Please leave quickly. The amethyst-winged Lion King, being such a massive target, was naturally discovered by the Snake People of the Maysnake tribe after entering here. However, facing a Tier 6 demonic beast, the initial tone of these Snake People was not very fierce, but rather quite tactful. Those who don't want to die get lost. The Lion King let out a roar. Under the vibration of its wings, many Snake People of the Maysnake tribe were blown away. Under the absolute suppression of strength, none of the numerous Snake People dared to step forward again. At this time, in a desert area only 100 lie away from this spot, a battle was also taking place. The two sides fighting were, on one side, Yume, the leader of the Maysnake tribe. The other side was Gu He and his group, who had come to the desert to search for an abnormal flame. Chapter 46, Yume's Fear. He, I didn't expect to encounter a Du Wang-level powerhouse so soon after arriving in the Great Desert. Your Excellency must be one of the leaders of the Snake People tribe, right? Gu He's Du Kai wings lightly vibrated behind him as he stepped forward, smiling as he looked at a charming snake person in the distance, and said with a smile. The snake person's face was enchanting and alluring, and her figure was incredibly voluptuous and eye-catching. Within her beautiful, diamond-shaped eyes, a hint of amorous moisture rippled. Who are you? Why have you come deep into our tribe at night? Don't you know that this place is forbidden to you, human race? The charming smile on Yu Mei's pretty face had completely faded by now. In its place was a chilling solemnity. Clearly, in front of the suddenly appearing formidable group, she had no leisure for jokes. We want to see the Queen. Gu He stated directly. You want to see Her Majesty the Queen. Upon hearing this, Yu Mei's beautiful eyes immediately curved into a beautiful and dangerous arc, and she sneered. Our Snake People tribe and your human race have been at odds for many years. What is there to discuss? If you are sensible, I advise you to leave quickly. Otherwise, once the 8 great leaders of my Snake People tribe gather, the number of powerhouses in the Jia Ma Empire will probably be greatly reduced. Yu Mei threatened. It seems there's nothing to talk about. Gu He was clearly not going to retreat because of the other party's threat. As his voice fell, the other 2 Du Wangs beside him began to launch an attack on Yu Mei. Yu Mei, seeing the unfavorable situation, chose to flee. At the Oasis Lake, the Snake People of the Maysnake tribe, under the deterrence of the Lion King, did not dare to approach the oasis, only sending out intelligence. A 6th-tier demonic beast, even if Yu Mei, the strongest leader in their Maysnake tribe, were here, she probably wouldn't be able to stop him. What's more, the leader of the Maysnake tribe, Yu Mei, has already left. The remaining Maysnake tribe members could only be wary of the Lion King and Gu Fei's group. Extremely vigilant gazes swept over them from time to time. Those snake people who used to cruelly kill humans upon seeing them dared not rush over to attack. As for Gu Fei's side, he only decided to set off after Zhao Yixian and Qing Lin had finished bathing and changed into clean clothes. Zhao Yixian was delicate and gentle, while Qing Lin's green eyes were cold, yet her whole person exuded a sense of obedience. Both of them, wearing the less conservative dresses of the desert, were beautiful in their own unique ways. The desert was extremely hot. Although protected by Dou Qi, Xiao Yixian still found it troublesome and, imitating Qing Lin, coiled her long purple hair into a single braid, letting it hang from her shoulder from back to front. Gu Fei, seeing her exceptionally gentle appearance, couldn't help but be momentarily stunned. Xiao Yixian, originally wearing an open dress that revealed her fair, lotus root-like arms, blushed shyly. Seeing Gu Fei's gaze on her, her ear tips turned red, and she turned her head away, not daring to look at him. Xiao Yixian experienced shyness, emotional value plus 100 next. The three of them sat on the back of the amethyst-winged Lion King and began to travel deeper. As night fell, a massive tribal fortress slowly appeared on the distant horizon. Inside the fortress, lights blazed brightly. However, the flickering flames amidst the peace and tranquility revealed something unsettling. Upon the massive city walls, dozens of meters high, countless arrow towers were densely packed. The pale purple arrowheads, protruding from the arrow towers, gleamed with a chilling luster under the moonlight. They were precisely and coldly aimed at every corner of the surroundings. Once fired, anyone would be riddled with holes. However, strangely, within this heavily guarded defensive perimeter, a huge passage had been forcibly breached. Even more bizarrely, all the arrow towers near that massive passage had been smashed into smithereens by a powerful force from an unknown source. Gu Fei, seeing this passage where the sturdy fortress had been forcibly breached from the outside, fell into thought. Looking at this situation, could it be that he and his group went ahead and forcibly broke into the Maysnake tribe's fortress? Looking at the fortress ahead, Gu Fei murmured in his heart. However, he remembered that in the original story at this point in time, He and the others should not have set off yet. But from the traces of destruction, it could only be He and his group. Because no one else possessed such formidable strength, and powerhouses of this caliber wouldn't suddenly run deep into the desert and so precisely locate the Maysnake tribe. Therefore, it could only be He, who coveted the heavenly flame, who, for some special reason, brought all of this forward. However, Gu Fei soon stopped dwelling on it too much. Perhaps his transmigration to this world had caused some butterfly effects. In that case, it was normal for some events to deviate, and he didn't need to delve so deeply. Gu Fei looked up at the fortress ahead, thought for a moment, and decided he didn't need to be so timid. After all, this was the Snake People tribe's territory. Lion King, charge straight through, don't stop. Gu Fei commanded the Lion King. The amethyst-winged Lion King's body paused, then, without reducing speed, it galloped straight towards the Maysnake tribe, among the Snake People tribe. The guards protecting the fortress initially didn't notice anything unusual until they saw the massive demonic beast flying in the distance, at which point they realized something was wrong. "Stop it," one person shouted angrily. Immediately after, cold arrows and countless poison spears quickly flew from the city wall. The Lion King snorted disdainfully. Were these snake people looking down on it? A few small, poisonous pieces of trash, yet they dared to dream of stopping it. As the amethyst-winged Lion King's wings flapped, a powerful hurricane swept forth. The hurricane blew away the poisoned spears, and those attacks were completely unable to get close to its body. The Lion King continued flying nonchalantly, completely ignoring these attacks. Gu Fei was not a bloodthirsty person either. He was forcibly intruding into someone else's tribe this time, so he didn't kill anyone. He only let the Lion King fly over the fortress, causing no casualties to the Snake People. After flying past the Maysnake tribe, Gu Fei continued his journey. Along the way, he encountered many Snake People trying to stop him. However, those obstructions simply couldn't amount to anything. The amethyst-winged Lion King was high in the sky, and many attacks were launched from the ground, posing no threat to it at all. A day later, Medusa Holy City. In the spacious and luxurious main hall, a graceful figure leaned back slightly against the chair, looking a little tired. Occasionally, her gaze lazily swept over the empty purple crystal throne above the high platform, and she couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. Rubbing her smooth forehead with a slender hand, a look of joy suddenly appeared on the woman's pretty face. She looked up at the outside of the hall as a dark black shadow shot in like lightning. Finally, he made it. Seeing the dark black shadow enter the hall, the woman couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. "You may, what exactly happened? Why did you issue 3 emergency alerts? Are those humans very strong?" The figure who entered the hall was clearly a male snake person, subtly exuding a fierce aura. Glancing at this male snake person, whose status in the tribe was comparable to her own, Yume sighed softly and said languidly, "Very strong. I ran into them last night and fled in disarray. And there's more than just this one group of people. Oh, do you know their exact strength?" Hearing this, the male snake person's pupils constricted slightly. He walked to the center of the hall, sat down at the spacious table, his voice carrying a hint of barely concealed chill. 1 Du Huang, 3 Du Wangs, and 4 Du Lings. Yume pursed her sensual red lips. When she spoke again, she sat up straighter, and her previously languid face became somewhat serious. "The most important thing is the other group of people." Chapter 47, The Queen's Evolution, a Sexy Scene. Yume's eyes held an unprecedented solemnity. "My tribesmen sent word that among that group of people, there is a 6th-tier flying demonic beast. A 6th-tier demonic beast. How did these guys suddenly gather so many powerful individuals?" His expression visibly grew much more serious. The male snake person called Mobas furrowed his brows. "Do we know the strength of the others accompanying the 6th-tier demonic beast?" Mobas asked, his gaze dark and sinister. "There are 2 very weak young girls and 1 young man. My tribesmen couldn't see through his strength at all. They said that person didn't seem to have any Qi fluctuations." Yume recalled the message from her tribesmen, her brows tightly knitted. She was extremely wary of this mysterious young man who could tame a 6th-tier demonic beast. Mobas asked in a deep voice, "Has your majesty been informed?" "What did she say?" "She was informed, but your majesty seemed very calm. She only told me to send the intelligence and summon you all here." Yume nodded, speaking with a hint of helplessness. Seeing Moba's disbelief, Yume was about to close her eyes when her pretty face suddenly changed. Her body abruptly shot up from the chair. "They're here." As Yume sensed the several auras that suddenly appeared outside the city, Mobas on the side also sensed something. His expression immediately darkened slightly. He exchanged a glance with Yume, and then both of them instantly flashed out of the main hall, rapidly ascending into the sky. A moment later, they arrived on the city wall, which had already entered a state of martial law. At this time, outside the city wall, a huge demonic beast hovered in midair, with several figures floating not far in front of the demonic beast. The newcomers were precisely Pil King Gu He and his party. Among them, Yun Yun wore a black robe. She was the only Du Huang expert Gu he had invited to help. "Humans, why have you trespassed into our territory without permission?" Mobas roared angrily. "He, this must be leader Mobas of the Ink Snake tribe, I presume." Pil King Gu he slowly stepped forward, speaking with a smile. "Who are you?" Mobas sneered. He, I am Gu He." The middle-aged man smiled slightly, speaking softly. "Pil King Gu He of the Jia Empire. Heh, that name is truly renowned." The name Gu He also caused Yume and Mobas to be slightly surprised. Although snake people rarely paid serious attention to human race experts, they had no choice but to give sufficient importance to alchemists like Gu He. Because they were also very clear about the kind of rallying power an alchemist of Gu He's level possessed. He, 2 leaders, I've presumptuously come to your noble tribe simply because I have something I wish to discuss with Queen Medusa. I wonder if your majesty could be invited to appear for a conversation." Pil King Gu, he said politely with a smile. "See, your majesty, I apologize, but we cannot convey this request for you." Shaking his head, Mobas refused without hesitation, stating blandly, "Gu He, you should take your people and leave as soon as possible." As the 2 sides were in a standoff, a figure suddenly appeared from the distorted space in the sky. The beautiful woman who abruptly appeared was dressed in a graceful purple brocade robe. Beneath the brocade robe, her delicate figure was full and shapely, like a ripe peach, exuding a faint allure. Her long, black hair cascaded casually from her shoulders, reaching down to her slender waist, and beneath the brocade robe, a section of a purple snake tail was revealed. The snake tail swayed slightly, emanating a wild, enchanting seduction that inexplicably made one's body feel somewhat hot. Queen Medusa. With the appearance of this enchanting woman, King Gu, he and the others finally became somewhat nervous. Even Yun didn't have the strength to defeat the infamous Queen Medusa. Meanwhile, on the other side, after flying at high speed, the amethyst-winged Lion King gradually approached Medusa Holy City. "Zio Yi Zion, Qing Lin, you two wait here. I'll be back very soon." As if sensing something, Gu Fei had the Lion King stop, turning back to instruct Zio Yi Zion and Qing Lin. Zio Yi Zion generated worry, emotional value plus 100. Qing Lin generated worry, emotional value plus 70. Both of them knew how powerful Gu Fei was, but knowing that he was going to venture alone into the holy city, which was filled with humans-hating snake people, they couldn't hide the worry in their hearts. Gu Fei had no choice but to comfort them for a few moments. After bidding farewell to the two women, he sped off. He arrived at just the right time. Outside the holy city, King Gu, his group was currently in a silent standoff with Queen Medusa. After seeing King Gu, his group discerned that the one outside was merely a phantom of Queen Medusa, and then forcefully enter the holy city. Gu Fei found his direction, concealed his aura, and infiltrated the Snake People tribe holy city. Queen Medusa had divided the aura of the heavenly flame into several parts in different directions to mislead, but Gu Fei was quite familiar with heavenly flames. His perception spread throughout the entire holy city, and his vast mental energy quickly allowed Gu Fei to pinpoint the true direction. Unlike King Gu, his group who searched blindly, soon, Gu Fei arrived at the eastern part of the city. A massive temple slowly appeared within his line of sight. He completely concealed his aura, and without any Snake People guard noticing him, he entered the depths of the temple as if walking into an uninhabited land, silently and stealthily. At this moment, a small, clear lake appeared in Gu Fei's eyes. In the center of this lake, there was a small island. The water around the island rippled, with no bridges leading to it. This lake appeared calm and still, as if one could easily reach the island in the center, yet it possessed anti-flight measures, and the lake water even contained potent poison. Although Gu Fei could overcome it, to avoid alerting anyone, he could only endure it head-on. If it were anyone else, they would probably be at a loss against the potent poison in this lake. Gu Fei, however, chose to directly wrap his body in heavenly flame and swam across the lake. The sea heart flame he had once obtained played a huge role in this environment. The sea heart flame glowed with a faint blue light, enveloping his body, making Gu Fei appear as if he were burning. Yet it remained unextinguished even in water. Arriving at the small island in the center of the lake, Gu Fei did not linger and continued to walk forward. Following the heavenly flame's guidance in his perception, he then discovered a bamboo forest. The further he walked, the stronger the heavenly flame's aura became. In Gu Fei's line of sight, the very center of the small island was entirely different from its periphery. Here, there was a circular, open area. The surrounding bamboo and flower bushes had all been meticulously cleared. Here, only tiny, smooth pebbles were scattered. These pebbles in the open area formed a small, sunken pool. The small pool was filled with crystal-clear liquid, and white mist swirled above the liquid's surface. In the central position of the small pool, there was a lotus seat carved from exotic crystal, and on that lotus seat, a cluster of green flames was slowly rising. Gu Fei hid in a corner, completely suppressing all his aura, merging into the environment. He knew his objective for this trip was right there, yet he was not in a hurry to make a move. Soon after, an enchanting figure appeared. It was Queen Medusa, who intended to use this heavenly flame to burn herself for evolution. Chapter 48. It seems like a good idea to keep the queen as a pet. When a beautiful face, almost reaching a level of enchanting allure, imprinted itself into his eyes, Gu Fei's gaze couldn't help but freeze for an instant. At this moment, Queen Medusa's exquisite body was enveloped in a luxurious and expensive purple brocade robe. Her full and fiery, graceful figure exuded an alluring temptation. Those narrow, light purple eyes with their shifting gaze, possessed an innate charm that could almost ensnare the sight of every man. Beneath the purple brocade robe, a section of a purple snake tail was revealed, lazily sweeping, exuding a wild and exotic charm. At this moment, Queen Medusa's beautiful eyes were fixed intently on the green flame in the small pond. After silently staring at the green flame for a long time, Queen Medusa suddenly let out a soft sigh, looked up at the sky, and then her fiery, delicate body slowly stood up. It's time. Whispering softly, Queen Medusa revealed 2 sections of snow-white wrists from beneath her purple brocade robe, and her slender hands slowly formed several seals in front of her body. As the seals in Queen Medusa's hands changed, the crystal lotus seat suddenly trembled violently. The unconstrained green flame, in just the blink of an eye, transformed into a raging inferno. Queen Medusa gently bit her red lips, and her jade-like hands slowly unfastened the buttons of her brocade robe. Immediately, a perfect jade-like body, as if a masterpiece of the heavens, was thus exposed naked in the bamboo forest. Gu Fei's breathing quickened slightly, feeling a surge of bloodline. The scene before him was simply too alluring, even if he didn't have such intentions. A natural physiological reaction inevitably occurred. A dazzling light burst forth from Queen Medusa's body, constantly expanding and contracting, accompanied by a roar during this process. Gu Fei, however, was not disturbed by the strong light. He closed his eyes, perceiving everything happening around him with his sole power. He clearly saw a purple giant snake, about 10 zhang long, hovering in the air above the small island. The purple giant snake's body was slender and powerful, subtly possessing an elegant beauty, and its light purple pupils, unlike the ferocity of the snake people Gu Fei had encountered before, conveyed a sense of tranquility and indifference. During this time, Gu Fei merely lowered his gaze and quietly watched Queen Medusa, not interrupting her. Since Queen Medusa chose this path, she would either turn to ashes or evolve into a 7-colored sky-swallowing python. At that time, no matter the outcome, Gu Fei would be able to claim the green lotus core flame. While Queen Medusa was evolving, a chaotic battle was unfolding in the Snake People tribe Holy City. Gu He and Yun Yun's group, amidst the fierce fighting with the Snake People, stormed into Medusa Holy City, struggling to search for traces of the exotic flame. Gu He was sensitive to the aura of the exotic flame, but unlike Gu Fei, he couldn't easily distinguish which exotic flame aura was real. They could only search blindly, and they had to carve a bloody path through a holy city teeming with snake people. The dense hordes of snake people seemed endless. No sooner had they slain one group than another would emerge from around a corner or from the shadows. Gu He keenly realized that these snake people were probably stalling for time. They were likely waiting for reinforcements from the snake people tribe's powerhouses. Gu He thought, "This is bad," and immediately shouted, "If we don't find the exotic flame soon, we'll retreat immediately." But the next second, Yun Yun glanced to the west. It's too late. Judging by this aura, it's probably another leader from one of the 8 great tribes. Hearing her words, the expressions of Gu He and the others changed slightly. In the western sky, a red shadow was swiftly flying towards the city like lightning. After about a minute, a male snake person, completely enveloped in red Dou Qi, flashed into appearance above the city. His gaze swept across the sky, finally settling on Gu He and his group with a grim expression. "Damned human race, you dare to enter my tribe's holy city." This guy is Yan Sai, the leader of the Flame Snake tribe among the 8 great tribes. Although his temper is extremely fiery, his strength ranks among the top of the 8 great tribe leaders. He's a very tricky opponent. Someone among Gu He's group said helplessly, frowning slightly as they looked at the suddenly appearing snake person. Hearing this, Gu He frowned, his gaze sweeping over the opponent, and said, "By this count, they already have 3 Dou Kings." Even though Gu He was well prepared, facing so many snake people tribe powerhouses, he still felt a certain pressure. Meanwhile, the purple giant snake had set up an energy barrier, and after circling in the sky a few times, let out a crisp, low cry. Then, the giant snake, without hesitation, dove headfirst towards the green flame. Within the exotic flame, shrill screams continuously emanated, and the green flame gradually weakened after nearly half an hour of intense roaring. At this time, the purple snake's body, originally covered in beautiful purple scales, was now scorched black. Its body, originally dozens of zhang long, was burned down to only 2 or 3 zhang, making it hard to imagine how many bones and how much blood were destroyed by the exotic flame within this body. Gu Fei watched intently from the side, a sense of admiration rising in his heart. Queen Medusa's perseverance was extraordinary. She could endure such torment. If it were him, he would likely find it very difficult to withstand such pain. The stiff, fallen black giant snake's scorched skin was slowly peeling off, as if something was about to break free from within. Suddenly, a 7-colored light figure swiftly flew out from it. Gu Fei saw it clearly. What appeared before him was a slender little snake, only about 2 centimeters long. Its entire body was covered with tiny 7-colored scales, and its light purple snake pupils had a subtly demonic feel. A unique, fresh fragrance lingered around its body. Although it was currently just a snake, it exuded an aura of elegance and nobility. Although the little snake's appearance wasn't too fierce, it was excessively beautiful. The 7-colored little snake didn't have many sharp, offensive parts on its body. However, Gu Fei knew that within this tiny body, there was a terrifying power that even a Dou Emperor powerhouse would not dare to underestimate. Gu Fei looked at it with interest, then his gaze turned to the green flame. He took out the green lotus seat and threw it over. The green lotus seat slowly drew the green lotus core flame back into its lotus heart. Immediately, the empty lotus heart position was filled with an eerie green flame. With the green lotus core flame collected and placed into his storage ring, Gu Fei looked at the 7-colored little snake. The little snake was also looking at him, already eager to rub against his pant leg. Seeing this somewhat cute little creature, Gu Fei reached out and tucked it into his sleeve. However, the 7-colored little snake emerged from his sleeve, coiled around his arm, and then, as if cooing, gently rubbed against his wrist. It let out a faint hiss, and seeing that Gu Fei wasn't looking at it, it gently nudged him again. Because Gu Fei was the first person the 7-colored little snake saw, in the little snake's eyes, this strange 4-limbed, bipedal snake-like figure was like its family. The little snake's purple eyes met Gu Fei's. 7-colored sky-swallowing python generates curiosity, emotion value plus 50 Chapter 49 Yun Yun. He saved me again, how can I repay him? Gu Fei was about to touch the little one's head, but his hand movements paused slightly when he heard the system's prompt again. Medusa's queen generated surprise plus anger, emotion value plus 100. Listening to the system's prompt, Gu Fei wasn't too surprised. He knew that within the 7-colored sky-swallowing python's body, there was another soul at this moment. Medusa's queen and the 7-colored sky-swallowing python now jointly occupied the same body. It was just that at this moment, Medusa's queen's soul had not yet taken the dominant position. However, Gu Fei didn't pay much attention to this either. He treated Medusa's queen's soul within the 7-colored sky-swallowing python as if it were an ordinary, clumsy little 7-colored snake. When he was happy, he would pat its head. When it was being mischievous and liked to bite his wrist, Gu Fei would gently tap its head as a form of reprimand. Medusa's queen generated anger, emotion value plus 100. Medusa's queen generated killing intent, emotion value plus 100. Gu Fei didn't really care about Medusa's queen's fiery temper. With his cultivation, he wasn't afraid of the 7-colored sky-swallowing python suddenly transforming into Medusa's queen. Even if it did transform, he had 10,000 ways to make Her Majesty not dare to seek revenge on him. At this moment, in the Snake People Tribe Holy City, their pace slowed by the numerous Snake People Tribe, Gu He and his group struggled to fight off the surrounding enemies. Medusa's queen's aura suddenly disappeared, Yun Yun said in a low voice. The next moment, as the green lotus core flame was taken away by Gu Fei in the temple, the aura of the exotic flame suddenly vanished, and no one could sense its existence. Gu He, holding a medicinal pill in his hand, was about to throw it to someone nearby when he suddenly froze. He stared intently at the temple where the green smoke was gradually dissipating, frowning, the aura of the exotic flame. How did it disappear too? The energy fluctuations inside are extremely calm. As for that exotic flame, could it have been destroyed by Medusa's queen? Yun also said with a slight hesitation. As an alchemist, Dou Qi was even more aware of the energy of an exotic flame. Could it be that Medusa's queen failed in her evolution? Such speculation was useless. Hope was right before their eyes, and Dou Qi and his group were fighting their way towards the temple. Outside the temple, the purple light barrier shattered, and cracks appeared within the unobservable temple. It wasn't until the barrier left by Medusa's queen was completely shattered that Dou Qi and his group fought their way into the temple. Damn it, where's the exotic flame? Dou Qi's soul perception quickly enveloped the entire small island, keenly searching every corner, yet he still found no trace of an exotic flame's aura. Immediately, a rare hint of anger appeared on Dou Qi's usually composed face. And many other snake people tribe in the holy city discovered that the aura of their strongest Your Majesty, the Queen, had disappeared. The entire city, with the annihilation of Medusa's queen's aura, gradually fell into a deathly silence. Moments later, pairs of hateful gazes shifted towards Dou Qi and the black-robed figures in midair. One of the snake people tribe finally could no longer hold back and roared. Your Majesty, the Queen, Dou Qi and his group, seeing that something was wrong, already wanted to leave but were blocked in place. Come as you please, leave as you please. What kind of place do you think my snake people tribe is? The fiery-tempered Yan Sai, with crimson battle Kai rising like flames from his body, glared down at Dou Qi and the others. Dou Qi's light blue flame swept out, but although the blue flame had an impressive momentum, Yan Sai showed no fear. Instead, his face was filled with a disdainful sneer. He extended his palm, clenched it slightly, and the crimson battle Kai on his body suddenly condensed into a fiery palm, shooting out violently. The fiery palm enveloped the blue fireball, and the blue flame was crushed to pieces. Upon first contact, it was clear that Yan Sai had a slight advantage in strength. I'll hold them off. You go find the exotic flame, then find a way to escape. Facing so many powerful individuals, Yun could only resort to the worst possible plan, as she was the only Du Huang among them. Upon hearing this, Dou Qi nodded heavily, then quickly fled under Yun's cover. Get back here. Seeing the actions of Dou Qi and the others, the three, including Yan Sai, roared in anger and launched an attack. Yun, however, easily summoned thousands of green wind blades, each possessing terrifying pressure. Your opponent is me, she said indifferently. However, during the stalemate, Yun's movements suddenly paused. She looked to the northwest and murmured, 2 more people have arrived. It seems it's time to retreat. With green battle Kai wings unfolding behind her, Yun transformed into a black streak of light and quickly vanished. She escaped outside Medusa Holy City, only to be caught up to by them again. 5 people surrounded her, but Yun's battle intent was higher than ever before. She drew her longsword, her figure as light as a wild goose, and quickly attacked. Damn it. From Yun's sudden attack to one of the 5 snake people tribe, a green-robed snake people tribe, being injured and retreating, only a short 10 seconds had passed. By the time everyone recovered, the green-robed snake people tribe, whose strength was among the top in the snake people tribe, was already injured and scurrying back in disarray. She's too fast, don't fight her alone, formed the 5 snake poison seal. Looking at the injured green-robed snake people tribe, the gray-robed elder's face darkened as he urgently shouted. Immediately, at the moment the 5 formed their hand seals, a faint, ethereal energy shield appeared out of thin air, firmly enveloping them. 5 snake poison seal, activate. In a moment, an extremely massive energy pillar suddenly appeared in the sky. The colossal energy pillar suddenly began to churn, and moments later, the energy pillar actually transformed into a green energy snake over 10 zhang long. Yun became entangled with the green snake, and the snake people tribe continued to arrive in an endless stream to join the battle. The green snake's strength wasn't particularly terrifying, but it was incredibly annoying. If she dragged this on any longer, even 10 Du Huangs wouldn't be enough to handle it. Just then, a faint voice came from the horizon. I didn't expect that. Meeting again, you've once again entered such a dangerous situation. Yun generated shock, emotion value plus 100. Suddenly, Yun heard a familiar voice and looked up in disbelief. She met Gu Fei, who was walking through the air, his deep, dark eyes. He lightly tapped the void realm with his finger, and a flame flew from its fingertip. The colossal green energy snake, merely touched by a speck of flame, violently thrashed about and completely vanished within a few breaths. With this combined technique broken, the 5 Du Kings of the Snake People tribe suffered severe backlash. Yin, she generated fear plus suspicion, emotion value plus 20. Your Excellency, are you here to rescue this person? Gu Fei glanced at him indifferently, and a majestic pressure swept out. The 5 Du Kings of the Snake People tribe exchanged glances, their eyes filled with apprehension. Yan Sai generated fear, emotion value plus 15. Your Excellency, we will remember today's debt. Yan Sai and the others retracted their battle cry, left a harsh warning, and then scurried away with the surrounding Snake People tribe. Yun generated gratitude, emotion value plus 100. Yun generated excitement, emotion value plus 100. I didn't expect him to save me again. How should I repay him? After Yun recognized Gu Fei, her gaze remained fixed on him without moving. Yun generated gratitude plus infatuation, emotion value plus 100. Who is this person? So young, yet possessing such terrifying cultivation. In the distance, the hastily fleeing Gu, he naturally witnessed this scene, and his usually calm face once again showed great ripples. Gu, he generated shock plus doubt, emotion value plus 50. Chapter 50, The Snake People's Strength, Still Vulnerable. The figure suspended in the air slowly became clear. Yun's beautiful eyes shone with a strange brilliance, experiencing a sense of security for the first time. Yun felt a sense of security, and her emotional value increased by 100. She was the sect master of Cloud Mist Sect, always protecting thousands of people by herself. She had almost never been protected like this before, except for 2 times, both by Gu Fei. Moreover, Gu Fei had a young face and was incredibly powerful. Yun felt grateful, and her emotional value increased by 100. Gu Fei landed beside Yun. Before he could speak, Yun opened her lips and sincerely thanked him. Thank you, you saved me again. Yun felt a good impression, and her emotional value increased by 100. Gu Fei smiled faintly at her, his demeanor calm and composed, completely unlike the domineering person who had just protected her. Yun met his gaze, her eyes sparkling, and she pulled down the hood from her head. She experienced the hero saving the beauty for the second time. Although she didn't understand the emotions surging in her heart, she wanted to get closer to Gu Fei. At this moment, in Yun's heart, her good impression of Gu Fei was almost at its peak. Gu Fei heard the system's prompt and was momentarily stunned, his eyes showing a slight change. Yun felt her heart stir, and her emotional value increased by 100. Her feelings for him were not just limited to a good impression. There was something more. She stared intently at Gu Fei's face, her gaze almost greedy, yet skillfully concealing the joy of a long-awaited reunion. Yun felt joy, and her emotional value increased by 100. During the time she was separated from Gu Fei, whenever she thought of the things that had happened between them in the magical Beast Mountain range, her mind was filled with images of Gu Fei. He happened to save her when she was seriously injured, and then helped her break the seal of the amethyst-winged Lion King. Their brief physical contact, that burning palm seemed to press against her back again, causing her heart to tremble. Originally, she thought that after that farewell, they would have no further interactions. Unexpectedly, during this danger, Gu Fei saved her once again. Yun felt longing, and her emotional value increased by 100. Her eyes were calm, and she stood tall beside him. Her small face, hidden under the black hood, was cold and noble, with her black hair cascading down. The slender longsword was sheathed by her side, still bearing undried bloodstains. If it weren't for the emotional value prompts, Gu Fei would never have noticed the fluctuations in Yun's mood. It's a small matter, Gu Fei smiled, feigning a calm expression. Through the emotional value provided by Yun Yun, Gu Fei also understood some of her thoughts. However, Yun Yun was not like Xiao Yixian and Qing Lin, who were unattached and could be kept by his side. Behind her was an entire massive sect. She carried too many burdens. She couldn't let them go, nor could she put them down. There was no need for Gu Fei to force Yun Yun to abandon everything and follow him. Therefore, after some small talk, Gu Fei planned to leave. Both he and Yun Yun had their own things to do. Their fate could only sustain this brief encounter. After this, they would be like two lines that no longer intersected, each going their own way. Gu Fei did not intend to speak these words aloud. Because he understood that Yun Yun must know, she just didn't want to know. The Snake People tribe, who had been extremely arrogant, now only watched this mysterious powerhouse with apprehension, not daring to act rashly. After all, Gu Fei's power had exceeded their imagination. Even the 5 snakes' venomous seal, the combined formation of the 5 Dou Kings, was easily broken by this person. Unless those few tribal elders made a move, none of them dared to go up and die. Among them, the older Snake People tribe leader, Yinshi, glanced at Gu Fei with apprehension before quickly rushing into the holy city. Here, after Gu Fei and Yun Yun finished their casual chat, there was a brief silence between them. Yun Yun knew that Gu Fei was going to leave, but she couldn't stop him. Yun Yun felt reluctance, and her emotional value increased by 100. But as she watched Gu Fei's figure about to leave, she suddenly stopped. Yun Yun felt doubt, and her emotional value increased by 100. Gu Fei's expression remained unchanged as he whispered to her, "A few old folks are coming to support their young tribesmen." Because he had just sensed that the 4 Dou Emperor Kai that had always been silent within the Snake People tribe, Holy City, suddenly began to move. Originally, no matter how they fought with the Snake People tribe, or how many Snake People Gu He and Yun Yun and others killed in the Holy City, those 4 Dou Emperor Kai had never stirred. Gu Fei was very clear about these 4 individuals. They were the foundation of the Snake People tribe. However, these 4, being advanced in age, would not easily make a move. As long as it wasn't a critical moment, they would only stand by, because once a major battle ensued, it would inevitably deplete their vital Kai. They never acted lightly. This was also why the 4 old folks had lived for so long. Yun Yun frowned, looking towards the distant sky. That was the direction of the Snake People tribe Holy City. Although her cultivation had reached the Dou Emperor realm, it was far inferior to those 4 old folks. Therefore, she could only sense vague, powerful, and domineering Kai rapidly approaching. "My Snake People tribe is not to be bullied." As a rather sharp voice rang out, the Snake People nearby looked up, their faces filled with ecstasy and respect. Are these 4 old folks finally unable to hold back and are going to make a move? In Gu Fei's line of sight, 4 Snake People old women were rapidly rushing out of the city. In an instant, 4 oppressive Kai approached, and 4 grim-faced Snake People old women stood proudly in midair with Dou Kai wings behind them. Their eyes, in unison, stared intently at Gu Fei. At this moment, Yun Yun, standing beside Gu Fei, murmured in disbelief, 4 Dou Emperors. Moreover, the Snake People tribe is skilled in combined formations. The combined power of 4 of them far exceeds a Dou Emperor, even reaching the realm of a Dou Zong. This is troublesome. Looking at the lineup that appeared from the Snake People tribe, Yun Yun's pretty face showed panic. She looked at Gu Fei with some unease. If it were just her, she would be powerless to contend against these 4. On the other side, Gu He and his group, who had originally thought the situation was settled because of Gu Fei's intervention and had stopped fleeing, also had a drastic change in expression. The information they had previously gathered about the Snake People tribe made no mention of these 4 Dou Emperors. Unexpectedly, the Snake People tribe's foundation was so vast, with 4 additional Dou Emperors, and with Gu He's discerning eye, he naturally could tell. These 4 were not ordinary Dou Emperors. They were all top-tier among Dou Emperors. Any one of these 4 Dou Emperors making a move would be enough to crush the personnel Gu He had brought. Not to mention, there were still many Snake People army on that side. Coupled with the Snake People from the 8 major tribes, they were still continuously rushing here. Having not retreated in time, he couldn't help but regret it immensely. He sighed inwardly, realizing that escaping now would probably be incredibly difficult. However, while Yun, He, and the others were worried, Gu Fei's face remained calm. He wasn't perturbed in the slightest by the sudden appearance of the 4 Dou emperors. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for supporting the channel and enjoying these novel audiobooks. Every subscribe, like, and comment helps us grow faster. If you love revenge stories, overpowered MCs, rebirth novels, and fantasy audiobooks, make sure to subscribe and join the journey.